The Arundel Planning Board to order, January 17th, Mildred L. Day School, 7 o'clock. Start with a call to order. Bob Kuhn.
John DeKendron.
Roger Moore.
Rich Canong.
Tad Redwood Planner.
Ann Burgess, Planning Board Secretary.
Tonight we'll look at approval of minutes from December 13th. Item 2, land use ordinance revisions for downtown business District 1 signage, District 2 discussion of proposed uses. Item 3, farm retail operations. Item 3, primary item 3, planners report, and there not being any public here, we may not have public comment tonight. So I'd like to start with the approval of the minutes for December 13th. Has everybody gotten them? Reviewed them? Any comments?
Yeah, must have.
I didn't get it personally.
I gave them to you.
I don't remember seeing him.
I don't, you know what, it's been so long, I honestly can't remember if I emailed them to the entire board. I know that I submitted them to you.
Probably didn't give him to the board.
Well, I have what copy?
Okay, we're going to defer the minutes of December 13th to the next meeting.
If you have that one copy, can you verify that we approved the minutes of December 6th?
I think we did.
We did.
You did October 11th, November 8th, November 29th, and
Yeah.
December 6th.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why you got paid.
That's right, that's right. Okay.
Okay.
Apologies to the board.
I didn't get paid, I got paid.
We'll move on to our item 2, land use ordinance revision, item 1 under section 2. Discussion with action signage design in the DB1 district. Before we go, the one that you passed out tonight, this is version 1.0?
Yeah. Let's start over again.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, because under 725, item 1 under materials, at a previous meeting, we had taken out custom design, and we took out engineered or composite construction. So that section 1 read, all proposed signage shall be constructed of wood, metal, composite materials, or fabric. Unfinished materials such as plywood and OSB are expressly prohibited.
Correct. And that's reflected in this new one.
No,
No, you got custom design right here.
no, those weren't taken out. And I'm just going from my notes from a previous meeting. Those should have come out unless you reprinted the original version.
Custom design, and what else did you want out?
On the engineered or composite construction, that is unfinished material, which you're listing plywood and OSB. And we had discussion on that at a previous meeting.
All
Because
right.
I had some other ones that we didn't change under that, so if you guys can make that change, and I think that was the only one that I found that didn't.
You're probably right. That's so far back. Oh, that's in October, I believe, wasn't it?
I'm not even, I didn't put a date on each individual rotation. Some of these things go out forever, so, but I did have those approved to move on with those taken.
Yeah, that was actually September.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Is everybody, we just got these materials. Did you want to go through those?
Yeah, I did. And I apologize, I was not able to do the drawings that accompanied this. They'll be done for next week's meeting. But we did, basically, all of the things that we talked about, boiled it down for you to consider at this particular time, really focusing on the primary signs. I was gonna put letter boards in here, but I figured which are the sandwich board signs, the sandwich board sign. So I thought I would just stick with this. Remember that this ordinance, this section is adjunctive to what's in 5, or our overall ordinance regarding signs. So these are standards that are specific to the DB1 district. They could be to the DB2 district, we haven't even discussed any of that yet. But these, so I've changed to make it specific to the DB1 district, okay? And I think the biggest question that we've been struggling with, or I should say exploring over since October, actually October, November, and December, we did a lot of review of existing signs that we saw in the Route 1 corridor in other communities. We discussed what we liked, what we didn't like, what was an issue, what wasn't an issue, what was a concern, what wasn't a concern. And from our conversations, boiled this down to trying to come up with some statements, some dimensional statements and some qualitative statements to achieve what I was thinking that we were going in the signage. And I'd like to go over that. One of the biggest ones, of course, was sign area. And you may want to turn, if you have your zoning ordinance with you, you may want to turn to your existing ordinance onto page 80, well, actually the best one is probably page 88 of your existing zoning ordinance. Probably didn't bring that, don't blame me. That's okay. And the reason why I mentioned that was because that's what the existing ordinance is, and you could use that as a comparison to some of the sign area requirements in the proposed one for the DB1 district. What we looked at, if you recall, one of the things that became very evident was that post signs that we had seen that we liked, that you identified as liking, number one, did not have to be very high. In fact, the most effective ones were very low within the visual cone of drivers and passengers. And the second thing, especially to add a 35 or 40 mile an hour speed limit. Actually, it was 40 mile an hour based on. And then that was number one. And number two, the area of the sign was not. We didn't need. Apologies. We didn't need huge area of sign. That actually signs within a certain size, especially post signs, worked as effectively, if not more effectively. You probably remember those signs in the Wells Route 1 corridor that were so big and had so much information, they actually became unreadable, or I would say difficult to read by a passing motorist. So consequently, what we did is I proposed going down from, we currently have 40, let's see what we have. We currently have 40 square feet. We currently have 50 square feet in the DB, in the CCS district. Brought it down to 40 square feet. And a 10-foot height. Right now we have 20 feet height. Brought that down to a 10-foot height. Now, Rich is not going to like this, but this gives you an opportunity, by the way, Rich, to pull out one whole category if you want to. You can cross out the table. But the table shows something that's very important in here, and that is the standard signage and bonus signage. And standard signage is the signage you can have by right, and the bonus signage is the signage that you can have by right if you enact certain design standards. And the board has not really made a statement about this, except for one member who has been very adamant about this. But what it does is it says, okay, you have right staff signage, we want you to do the bonus signage, and instead of forcing you to do it, we're going to make it attractive for you to do it by giving you more than you would get with the standard signage. You would get more sign area, greater sign height, more sign, better sign locations, and in some cases you would get to like them where you wouldn't be able to get to like them if they weren't bonus signage. And we have the standards, and you'll see there's different standards, and there's significant differences between these standards. Let's start off with just remembering relatively what a sign sizes are. 40 square feet is is basically more than a sheet of plywood. It's more than, it's a 4x10 sheet of plywood. 5x8, 4x10. It's larger than a sheet of plywood. It would be about the size of the motor vehicle sign. Okay? Actually, that's a little bit larger. I believe that our sign, the Seafood Center has a, I believe, 5x8 or 5x9 signs, somewhere in that area. So that's about the size of what would be the maximum post sign that one could have. And I'm using the same, by the way, I'm also using the same definitions of sign. We break signs down into different categories by type. We have a post sign, and that's a sign that's a freestanding sign. I would call it a freestanding sign, but we call it post in our ordinance. Then we have a wall sign, and that's a sign that's fixed to the wall of a building. We have an awning sign. We call it a canopy sign. Let's call it what it is. It's an awning sign. It's a sign that's on an awning that's projecting from the building. Then we have a sign. We have a project identification sign, which is, I believe it's supposed to be a directory sign. We call it directory sign. I haven't done those yet. And then there's a sign we don't have. It's because currently we don't encourage it, and that's what I would call a projecting sign. It's a sign that's mounted on the building, on a building, and projects out from the building. So it's perpendicular to the orientation of the building. And you know with these signs, you see them all the time. There's signs that hang off the side of the building. Usually they're good in a sidewalk environment, and very good in a tighter environment where you're going along, you see the building, and you want to see what door you're going in. It's a projecting sign that's over it. It's just a sign that hangs out perpendicular, usually from a bracket. I think we had many examples of that kind of sign. For instance, I think we showed you one which was in Freeport, which was Isabella's coffee shop, and it was in the shape of a coffee cup, but it was projecting out from the building. That's a projecting sign. I haven't done the definition of that, but we don't have that. We don't have a definition of that kind of sign, nor do we have any standards for that kind of sign. Just like we don't have or don't allow sandwich board signs. And we need a definition of a sandwich board sign. You may remember the last time we met, I showed you the pictures of some good and some bad sandwich board signs. I guess for the record, we should note that Tom McGinn has...
Excuse me for being late.
Chairman.
Okay. Welcome, Tom, again, 7:15. We're just going over signs that current ones, you've got a copy.
So that's a projecting sign, which I need to come up with a good definition. I assume the board would like that sign to be added to our repertoire. We don't have it right now. I think if we're going to try to go with more of a cluster kind of environment, that's the kind of sign we really might want. It's actually sometimes much more effective than a wall sign, especially in many different kinds of environments where the viewer is parallel to the building. Just think, if you're going along and you see a building, it's much easier to see the sign coming out from the building than it is if it's mounted flush to the wall and you're oblique to the building, which occurs in many situations here in Raleigh. So we're talking about having two new kinds of sign. Oh, by the way, the signage being the sandwich board sign, that would be a standard size for everybody. It wouldn't be, unless you guys think otherwise, but I think we would push hard for the chalk type, the kind that can be easily moved or easily, new things added to it easily, and it can be colorful and gives you a lot of design options that the business owner can do. You can also run out and say, special for the next 2 hours. Lobsters half off, something like that. It's easily changeable, it's very flexible. The only time it's not so great is in the wet, if it's raining hard. That's the only time when there might be a problem. Although you can get chalk that is resistant to water. That is one, chalk, the chalk sandwich board sign is one option. The other one would be a letterboard of some sort, portable letterboard. These signs could stay out, they can be put out on a regular basis, and the board we should consider exactly how we want to handle it, and whether we want, I think all business should be granted it. It's a cheap, easy way of doing it. The question is, how much is too much clutter along the road? But that's something we're gonna have to contemplate. So given those signs, the biggest thing in this is sign area. What are the sign area? Bonus sign puts you in a situation where you have 40 square feet of bonus signage, 10 feet tall. You use exterior shielded lighting on that. Speaking of illumination, I believe the board agreed at this particular time that we weren't going to pursue basically LED signs, moving LED signs at this particular time because we hadn't found any that we liked yet. So I don't have those in here under bonus signage. Wall signage, for instance, we also have 25% of the signable area. Signable area is defined as the facade of the building, and we do it by floors. So the first floor, you can have 25% of the facade of the building, you can have a sign attached to the side of the building. It reduces down as you go up, and frankly speaking, I think when we get to the point where we're up to the third stories, it shouldn't really have signage, you just can't read it. The angle's too much. But that's something for the board to decide. For standard signage that would be interior lit, or signage that doesn't meet those standards for bonus signage, it has considerably less area that you can use. So the incentive is, do the bonus signage, you get more sign area.
In section 5,
Yeah.
does that call out specifically what the signable area is?
Yes, it does. Well, it's not section 5, it's actually section 3A1. Signable area for each floor. Actually, it's not just the facade, it's minus the area of the windows.
The windows in, yeah.
It's minus.
And that's why I wanted to make sure this was clear, because at one point in your conversation, you said, or the facade or the wall, and
Yeah.
it's not.
It's the
Minus all of
It's the
the
facade,
windows.
it's the area of the facade minus the windows and doors.
Yeah.
Why is it minus the windows and doors?
Well, because you can't put signs over windows and doors.
Put them in windows and doors.
That's another thing that we have to
You could put
discuss is
them on
windows, because
and
we don't,
doors.
that's another thing we could discuss is windows.
So, why?
Well, that would be a window sign. I think that's a different animal.
What if it covers both? You know, I mean, you could have a sign that's part on a window and part on part that's next to the window.
Yeah, you could, sure.
You know, I mean, it's signable area, and I think if I understand the reason for excluding windows and doors, it's because that's not signable area,
Right.
but it is.
Well, it's also one way of, well, if you were to do that, then you could say, okay, it's a percentage of the total facade, it could be on the windows or on the side of the building. If you wanted to do that, you could. But the only reason I didn't do that, and I would want to think about doing windows separately, which we don't do here either, by the way, currently in the town, is, if you look at signable area, which you used, that term that you used, actually came from street graphics, and that formula also includes eliminating the windows, so I thought it
Well,
actually
that
identified.
was in our original,
That was
that's in our current
It's in
ordinance.
your current ordinance, right, it's right out of street
Yeah,
graphics.
and I guess that's, the maximum area right now for a sign, I mean, one of our goals was to increase opportunity, reduce stuff. But if I heard you right, the maximum area right now allowed is 40? And we wanna cut that down to 20.
I thought it was 50.
No. For a wall sign?
No,
25.
No, I thought the maximum signage area inclusive was 50.
What's a post sign, the maximum area?
Well, it's based on distance from the right of way. We're not dealing with that kind of issue in the DB one anymore. We're saying, it can't be more than 50, your building can't be more than 50 feet away from the street, from the pole. We've got a minimum and a maximum. Right now, you can have 50 square feet if you're located within 15 feet of the right of way. You can have 60 square feet if you're located 15 to 25 feet of the right of way. You can add 80 square feet if you're more than 25 feet from the right of way. Which basically says the farther the sign is away from the right of way, the larger the sign can be.
Okay, but it's still, all of them are less than the 50 foot that this building could be at, and you're up to 80 feet, and we're only allowing 20 feet.
When you ask me about a post sign,
Yeah.
yeah, we're talking about wall sign here.
I asked about a post sign, and you're
A
talking
post sign
about
is
a wall
40.
sign.
A post sign is 40 square feet,
Yeah, and
which is less than the 50 square feet we have right now.
the 40 is only with bonus. What's allowed under this is 20, so we're reducing,
We are. Yep. We are.
kind of goes against what the intent of what we were trying to accomplish in the overall scheme, doesn't it?
Well, yes and no. I think what we were trying to do was create a character area in the DB1 district. Remember, the DB1 district isn't the same as the DB2 district. DB1 district is that narrow area that's along Route 1 where you're trying to create that village kind of environment. 50 square foot, 80 square foot signages that are 20 feet up in the air isn't exactly in that character that you're looking for in that district.
I don't disagree with that.
So that's why we
Just
said,
want to make sure that everybody's aware, because every other change that we have made, we have either reduced, brought on new capabilities, done something as kind of a bonus in all of this stuff.
yeah,
The bonus doesn't even get us up to where we are,
Well,
what they could do right now today.
yeah.
I would
agree.
When I looked at this, I actually saw 60 square feet, 20 standard and 40 bonus. If you meet the criteria, you end up with 60 square feet of sign.
Well, I had that for another question. So, how is that interpreted? And all of the things under bonus, do you have to meet one of them? Do you have to meet all of them in order to qualify? There's no ors, ands, or anything in here. So is it, they've got to do all of these? I mean, obviously all signs wouldn't hit the historic district, so I'm assuming if they do one of these other things, either give us the rounded top or the crown top or whatever, then they qualify for extra instead of having just a flat.
Right. See, I honestly, when I looked at this, I thought the first four, the shape, the product signage, the historic signage, the lettering, those are all bonus. Everything else is, that's a description of what the frame of the sign has to look like. And I did not view that as being bonus, I viewed that as, okay, that's the way you're gonna make that sign look.
Yes.
And now you can add in the other stuff.
Yeah, that's why it says design requirements.
Right. But I would,
Bonus signage design
I would have
requirements.
taken the sign frame out completely. I said, this is what that sign frame is going to look like. I don't care if it's bonus sign or regular signage. That's what that sign frame is gonna look like.
Well,
That would have been my thought on it.
That's the other argument you can make. I know where you're coming from. You want a certain look, period. You don't want to give anybody an opportunity to continue doing the usual. Saying, do something different down here, for God's sakes, is what you're basically saying.
Basically.
Yeah. And that's the other argument. The other argument would be saying, okay.
Move that back to the first section under,
Yeah, instead of it being bonus, saying this is the minimum requirement for signage in this district. I would agree with that. So, are you saying that we wanna get rid of bonus signage and just say we're not gonna have substandard?
No, what I'm saying is for sign frame, move it from under your bonus signage design requirements back to the introduction 7.25, change number 3 area and dimensions to number 4, make this number 3, and all signs that go in will be on that kind of a frame if they're using.
So frame will be, that's a minimum requirement for frames.
Correct.
Okay, we'll do that. How about sign shape while we're at it?
I think that personally, I'm opposed to the whole concept of bonus signage. I think we should say, this is how much signage you can have. This is what we would like to see it look like. If we're gonna tell people, if we're gonna give you bonus signage for making your sign look a particular way, then everybody should just make their sign look that way. It eliminates the spray can sign on the side of a building. And I'd simply say, this is the design standard that we have come up with. We've done it for building designs in certain instances. I see no reason why we don't do it for signs themselves. But I would have, the biggest problem I have with this whole thing is saying, here, we're restricting the amount of signage that you can have. Make your signs look nice, and I don't care how much signage you have.
There's gotta be some restrictions, you can't put it in one.
Well, I think that,
And I would remind you of that outlet in Wells where they had wall signs all over the building.
Yeah, they don't look very good either.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
The signs themselves don't look good.
Well, yeah, it's an outlet. But I mean, I would say that's 70%, I would say almost 100%, I won't say 100, 70 to 80% of the signable area of that wall was covered with signs. And that was the issue. Plus window signage. And window signage on top of the signable area, as we define signable area. So,
Then, you know, maybe you want to put a restriction on the total amount of signage, but I think I'd still have the standards that say what we've called bonus signage. You know, it has to be this shape. You can make it like that coffee cup sign, or a bagel sign, or a donut sign, you know, something along those lines, but it needs to be either product specific, or sign shape specific, or some kind of historical sign that identifies what's going on. And that's it. And we're not gonna go with the standard sign and the bonus sign. I don't think you don't wanna have that if we're trying to get a particular look in an area. You want all the signs to look the same way, regardless of the size of that sign.
good argument.
Also, why do you have, if something in the standard signage is not permitted, what's our reasoning for not permitting it? And then saying you can have 15% of the signable area is a bonus sign.
well, when you get, basically saying, if you were to have, let's say, your standard rectangular plexiglass sign that says tattoos, can't have them be above the 3rd floor.
Well, I would agree with that, but this says in the standard signage, sign area above the 2nd floor is not permitted, but if it's bonus signage, it is permitted.
Yeah.
15%.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's why
I don't think it should be that way. It should be, you know, you could,
If it's not permitted, it's not permitted.
if it's not permitted, it's not permitted. If it's permitted, it's.
Just
at a
trying to make the
percentage.
bonus look better. Now, I don't have a problem with going with more signage. I mean, that was the original thing that I talked about, was bonus signage meant a lot more signage. But, you know, last time we talked, I thought you guys were going, we don't want to oversign, we don't want too much signage.
Well, but I think what you're giving is options.
Yeah.
And I don't think, you know, signs cost money. So a business is gonna take advantage of putting in an awning, putting in an outpost, putting up one on the 3rd floor and the 5th floor. An individual, if somebody moves in on that 2nd or the 3rd floor, they gotta be able to put in, yeah, because I think I agree with Rick on that, they gotta be able to advertise their business. You know, so in each of these, and going with what you're saying, Roger, the not permitted, I don't think those belong in the bonus signs either. Same with awnings, we're saying awnings aren't permitted, but if they're not even, awnings don't even hit this stuff for bonus signage requirements. An awning is an awning is an awning.
Oh, but an awning isn't an awning, it's an awning.
Well, but they are. Some are rounded, some come out and
Some
come
are
down with
Some are
rougher
special, they're
Some-
wood.
Some look nice, some look like hell. But if the idea is, because we don't call out specifically what an awning is,
Well, we have a definition, it's canopy in ours, we just changed the name.
Remember the discussion we had over the umbrellas? And that had signage on it.
yeah, see, people ought to be able to do that kind of stuff.
My caution with all of this here is that we're talking about a certain look and not overdoing and not too much. But I thought that our primary focus was to encourage economic development. And at the same time then that we want to encourage economic development, we're putting in all kinds of restrictions, and those work against each other. So I think we need to talk about minimal restriction, maximal choice or flexibility, and come up with something that works in a simple way. I mean, this, to me, is way beyond complexity for signs. I think we can do it much more simply.
See, I don't think that signage would have an impact on the economic development. If somebody decides that they're going to move into that area, the shape or the size of their sign is not going to make a difference to them. They're going to be choosing it, going, I want to be in that part of Arundel because I like the way that part of Arundel looks, it's good for my business, and it will help. So I'm willing to comply to design standards for my signs. So I don't see that as being a problem.
I'd like to get some real feedback from maybe some chambers of commerce on that, because I think it's differently. I think a sign is a very critical business tool, especially to the micro businesses that we're talking about, a very critical tool. And if you allow flexibility, it's going to be more attractive to a potential new business, and it's also going to drive their business once they're here.
I guess it would depend upon the kind of business. You know, I can't see, I go back to the coffee shop sign, I can't see somebody just putting up a flat hanging sign that says coffee here. You know, they're gonna wanna have something that's gonna stand out and make it identifiable. The same thing if you had a pet store. They're gonna wanna have a sign that identifies what's in there. You know, be it in the shape of a goldfish or a puppy. So I have a problem restricting the amount of signage that you can have, but I think you have to have specific standards. And you may want to very well say, well, you know, if it's on a post, it can only be X number of square feet. But I have no problem if you have a post that is 20 square feet and you have another 30 square foot thing on the front of the building, and then you etch in your glass doors or your windows or something.
No, that gets, now I'm getting honky tonk. I'm being, Lupe Harbor in the summertime where all I see is signs in
No,
front of the building.
Go to Freeport. You go up to Freeport. Freeport looks really nice. Those are great signs. They didn't kill themselves. They didn't kill themselves with signs.
But that, but yeah, they get restrictions up there too.
Yeah, they have to look a certain way.
Well, you have to go through the design review committee to get your sign. You have to go to a board for your sign.
Well,
I don't want that.
I don't want that either.
That's not.
Well, somebody's gonna have to make these decisions in compliance anyways, remember that, gentlemen.
Another argument for simplicity.
And John, I understand what you mean by simplicity, I understand what you know, the maximum amount of flexibility and design flexibility. And I would agree with that. once a character is determined, usually between character of the area, competition with the guy next door, keeping up with the Joneses and that kind of thing, that you get into a competitive spirit once in an area that's already well defined. We don't have a defined character to our GB1 district right now. In many ways, as you have pointed out, we're trying to manufacture that. We're trying to create a character area where we don't have one, and where almost, I won't say we're not Houston, but we have very generous sign ordinance compared to our neighbors just down to the south here.
Well, but this brings
And we
it
also,
back-
but we have very few restrictions right now, and we don't have anything really remarkable in our signage here. I don't think freedom in signage, I don't think we're restricting freedom and creativity in signage right now. The one that stands out in my mind is Champions. I love Champions sign. Champions Auto Body, it's a great sign. It's an old Texaco sign that's been remodeled, so it's a wonderful rehab. It's terrific. That's a great thing, but we don't have a lot of signs that are really remarkable. We have some of the carved signs, as you know. We have a number of nice signs, but we have a mishmash. And the thing is, we don't have enough critical mass of signage right now that's going to lead new tenants. And think of them as new tenants, not just new business owners, but new tenants to want to fit in to the character of the area, because the area just doesn't have enough critical mass right now to be well identified. And so you're right, we're trying to kind of create that and push them a certain way, hoping we get to that critical mass, and then creativity goes wild. People start trying to outdo each other. And we don't have that, by the way, you mentioned the chambers. If you look at, let's say, for Kennebunkport, who are our neighbors down there, not the same as Biddeford, but Kennebunkport, you'll see that that's exactly what you're talking about. People try to out-create the other guy within a very limited context. And they have a very limited palette that they provide themselves with, and they try to make a more creative, more colorful, more New England-y sign to outcompete with their neighbors. But it's in a very narrow context, if you really look at it. And the chambers are trying to promote this as a tourist area and promote that seaside New England look, and so they constantly push that kind of image, and encourage their members to do that. It's usually not overt, it's very discreet.
So right now, we're looking at a 50-foot setback. What's the maximum amount of signage that you could have at that 50-foot level?
At 50 foot?
Yeah.
No, you can have a total amount of square footage. The total of all post signs on a lot shall not exceed 100 square feet.
For a building that is 50 feet.
On a piece of property, you can't have more than 100 square feet of post signs. So if you look at let's say Weir's, for instance, they can't put any more post signs up.
Yeah, but if you're looking at, again, you don't have this done, but we're allowing 2 stories, 3 stories. We've increased the square footage, so I can easily see 6 companies going into one of those kinds of buildings. That gets you back to 15 feet, 20 feet maximum signage that each of those companies can have. Is that what you want? I don't think so.
Well, right now, there's no limitation on the number of post signs. It's saying the post sign can't be more than this, and it's saying that, that no matter what the size of the building, it's a percentage of that building facade that you get to put signage up.
On the building itself. On the building itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't even gotten the projection signs yet.
See, those are more for sidewalk areas.
Yeah, once you get the
You know-
second
you
and
know-
third floor, you're not putting a.
You
a
know, so you
projection
say,
sign
yeah,
up anyway.
projection signs are a lot, you know, not to exceed 10 square, you know, I agree with John, that can be easy, if they wanna hang something out there, let them, what is the problem, I agree with Rick, if they wanna do a sign in their window, let them, I agree with Roger, but why have it not permitted and then give a bonus, why not just let that be the standard?
So we're moving
Bonus
away
area.
from the bonus area signage, is what you're telling me.
And come up with a design, just move these things over. I mean, they're all legitimate, they were all based on your research. I think, as I look at this, I can see that 8 foot to 10 foot, that was the range viewing from a car that is the best. So let's have, standard stuff will be from 8 to 10 feet, let them choose. I mean, we've got a little bit of research, a little bit of something to say, hey, that's a good height. And you don't want cookie cutter things all the way. That's why I like option, I like choice, give them a little thing. The sign shape, you know, if that's what we want, that's what we want. And I think there's a lot, and I think after people see them, and I think the caveat would be is what we don't want is a 4x4 or an 8x8 or 10x10 square. That's what we don't want. Be creative and anything else is fine. You know, and these are wonderful examples of the kinds of things that they could choose from doing that are fine. I think, do I like some of them? No, but they're kind of unique, some of them.
Then like the cube sign.
Oh, that's another one. We say, okay, if you have so many surfaces, you gotta, you know what, if they're gonna come up with something that's got 87 signs, let them have 87 signs on your letters, you know?
Well, that's your current ordinance, so I thought I'd just stick with that. I don't have a,
I know.
But we're not here once again because we're doing this, I keep forgetting the proper name for that, but anything which we don't mention is prohibited, but here again, you're thinking of signs that are, not signs that
could be.
can be.
Well, I'm thinking of signs that could be. I really am. I'm thinking, and, I'm willing to get rid of the restriction to, and it's not a restriction, it's just saying that, if you put in more than 2 faces on a post sign, if you have a 3-face post sign, let's say it's triangular, a triangular post sign, with the triangle ends being towards the building, and you've got one right at the road, and then you've got 2 on either side. It's just saying, you will, when you do the area of that additional side view that you're putting in there by making it 3-dimensional, it has to be accounted for in the sizing. And if you're saying no, that doesn't.
Stick with that type of sign, you're not thinking about a sign that can change shape. So what do you do with that? Well, not permitted because it's not in our list.
Well, if we can get, just had a senior moment, I can't remember what the term is now, but if we could have, let's say, a projected sign,
Another one I have here on my list, a projection.
a projection sign, that would be interesting.
Projected on, and not just on a building, but I can foresee it projected on either a plexiglass type surface or perhaps along the walk where you have a few posts that it reflects off of. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do, but, we have this stupid thing where if we don't mention it, it's not allowed. So,
Well, I think you'll find that in every
make
sign.
it simple so that it
Tell me what
encompasses
simple is.
everything.
What would be the simplest one
Simple.
that still meets the design standards we're trying to achieve? The minimum design standards we're trying to achieve?
I think the only thing you want to do is, at least in my mind, maybe put some restriction on the total surface area, and that's going to be difficult with a sign that changes shape, but you could work it out.
You just mentioned a triangle.
Well, no, I mean, I can envision a sign, it'd be pretty damn expensive, but that totally changes shape. You can make it look like a person, then you can make it look like a square, then you can make it look like.
We're talking about holographs.
No, not a hologram, no, this would be a physical sign, but the projected one would be a holograph type sign. You could
But
do-
it's got, that projected sign that you're referring to is gonna fit in some sort of a frame.
Not necessarily, you
No,
can
it's
project it into the air. You know,
That's
you can
kind of
have
a bridge, I
picture-
wonder if we should drive off that bridge when we get to it.
But then if you give the maximum
I
dimensions.
don't know if we can anticipate that kind of thing.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So if you have,
So
if
we
you
change it when the
say
time comes.
just a maximum size surface area, and if you're doing some kind of projection, it would be the size of a projection, and if you're doing whatever, you know, you can measure that. And then in terms of lighting, you know, you don't want to overwhelm people driving down the road or neighbors with too much light, so a certain amount of limitation on
But
on,
that goes
light.
back to my argument, we just say, okay, we can have a post sign that is X. This is how big your post sign can be. You wanna put something on the building, go ahead. Just make sure it fits a design standard.
So you're saying you could have a 20 by 50 post sign and then another 25, 50 wall
No,
sign?
your post sign is restricted to us, in the 40 square feet, that's the size of the post sign that you're allowed to have. Now, if you wanna project it, if you wanna put something on the side of your building and run a commercial on the side of your building that you post up there and runs like a YouTube video, go ahead.
But even your post sign could be a projected sign, though.
It could be.
Or a holographic sign.
It could be, but it's restricted to the size
Yeah.
that you're looking at.
You just came back from Las Vegas, you know what we don't want.
I didn't go into Vegas, I was out in the desert.
Okay.
I can't stand
They
it.
make a lot of money in Vegas.
Yeah, they do, and everybody else digs all theirs behind.
I know, personally, I think there's a maximum amount of signs you can have, whether it's on the wall, on the post, but not unlimited amount of signage.
You're restricted by the amount of signage based on the size of your building anyway.
Right.
And so if I have the first floor, I can't project on the second floor, it's not my space.
That's true.
I can only project on the first floor.
Okay.
And frankly, gentlemen, I like to think of these things in terms of business spaces and not necessarily buildings.
Yeah,
Well, the reason why I say that is because you don't have to deal with the enforcement issue that we have to deal with. And that is, there is always a dispute between the landlord and the tenant, if there are tenants. I mean, we're assuming that, let's extend this out and say, yeah, we're gonna have buildings with tenants. I like to make the signage relative to the business space that's being leased, rather than just the whole building, because then the landlord has to sit there and play arbiter. One tenant can take 50% of the available signage for that building, and then the other ones are left with little signage. And in fact, we have two situations here in Arundel where that exact same thing has occurred. That's why I talked about storefronts. And you saw that reference of storefronts. For that
Where
very
is that?
reason. I believe that was a reference in
Well, that makes sense.
storefront. Yeah, multiply by the length of the storefront's frontage, so that in page 2, signable area, and you'll see it also on 2. So 1 and 2, they make references
Yeah, see,
to storefront,
other, yeah,
or it should be business space, but I like storefront because everybody understands a storefront.
Would that all be within the 40 square feet or whatever the limit would be?
Well, the 40 square feet is only on a post sign. This was referring
Okay.
specifically to wall signs, anything that was attached to the building, or projecting signs. So I was trying to say that basically divide it up among the spaces that are in the building, so that essentially we reduce the chance for conflict when it comes to having to do this on a regular basis. I mean, you guys will not be dealing with the issue of signage. Probably the code enforcement officer and the planner will be dealing with the issue of signage and reviewing and approving this kind of signage, as a building, is leased over time. You'll have new tenants and old tenants, they'll replace the sign. And this is just actually an easier way for both the landlord and the enforcement people to actually administer this.
Would it be easier to base it on the percentage of, or maybe not even percentage, of square footage of the building, of the business, as opposed to the frontage?
Well,
It could be a large business with small frontage, you might still want a larger sign.
yeah, but it gets very complex on that. I find facade to be much easier. Well, nobody's gonna put signage on something that's not facing the public, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's always gonna be, usually they're not. You're not gonna put it, you're not gonna put signage on the back of the building.
Unless you have those little side roads going in
Yeah.
and around them,
Yeah.
around the
Yeah,
back.
then you will, absolutely, and on county lines. So, I think every space, just about every space, and I know this isn't true, there may be a completely interior space in building design, but most spaces have frontage on some part of the wall, the exterior wall. And so if you have it related to that, to the amount of wall that you've got in the exterior, that gives us a handle on figuring out the size of the signage. And it's also the signage in relation to the building too. If you don't want 90% of the building, as we discussed, regardless of how important it is for business, you don't want 90% of the building facade to be signage. It just doesn't look good. I mean, you proved that, you guys reacted to that, what was that, it was a footwear store. And it wasn't actually a Wells, it was in a comfort.
I'm gonna bring up one other concern with this, and then I'd like to kind of go back and see how we're way into this and we're talking. We're given permission in here for a second floor business to put up signage on the first floor elevation. How do you do that? You know what? The landlord's gonna say, what?
I'm not sure the landlord would have a problem with that, because if I have a second store business, I wanna have a street level sign. If it's a post sign, I wanna have something that is street level so that people will see where the business is.
Well,
But unfortunately, if you've got, going back to John's case, we've got a 3-story building and each floor has 6 businesses on it, and we got way too many signs on the street.
Well, that's why you have your marquee with everybody on it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, whatever, some of that kind of stuff I just see is, it belongs with the landlord. You know?
Well, the landlord's gonna be the one who approves any of this stuff, it's just one way of, when I mention the storefront, it makes it a lot easier to just administer over time, that's all. But don't keep yourself, the landlord's always involved. And what you're talking about is a directory sign, what I would call it.
Yeah, a directory.
Yeah.
Which, quite frankly, in many cases, if you're, let's say if you're an office or a service person, directory signs actually aren't very effective for you. Because
No, but then
if you
you-
think about it, look at all the stuff that's on, let's say you have 10 tenants, and you have them all listed on the directory sign that's 50 square feet. So each one of them gets a little plaque. Think of it in terms of, and I don't mean to focus in on anybody in particular, but I look at Goff's Mill professional building, and they have a whole bunch of signs in it. You have to really strain.
Well, that's because of the limitation.
I'm not sure it's.
I'm not sure that's the limitation as much as it's too much information.
Well, what's the purpose of those signs? Isn't it just, someone would say, it's at, if I'm looking for that site, I'm looking for Goff's Mills building.
93,
And
93
then
Portland
when I
Road.
get close to the, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
There's-
That's what I'm finding happening out at my office, because the sign that's on the road, it's Alfred Professional Parking, it's got a list of 8 businesses on there. People know what the address is, it's 200 Waterboro Road, they put the GPS in, and then they pull in and they say, okay, where is Tavis World at? And then they direct.
I got a sign over there on my building.
That's right.
No,
I've got a
the
sign.
sign on the bill, that's my point.
The medical.
You know, you have a
office-
directory sign, have a good address. We don't make that a requirement in here either, which we should.
Well, actually, I have it, I just didn't put it, it's actually, I was gonna put it in section 5, you know, regarding the, what every single sign should have, but I think we'll need to repeat it in here as a design element where,
If that's
I think
the
I even wrote
important
it
one,
out,
and
but-
then no matter where they are, first floor, second floor, third floor, facing the road, not facing, road, not my problem. So they have their directory sign, and they have so much signage on the wall. To John's point, new and creative signs that fall outside the parameters of this, there can be a note that needs staff level review or whatever for approval.
all of these signs will need to be reviewed. I mean, they have to be reviewed by staff. Some of them might even come to the planning board.
I
It
don't,
depends on you guys.
hey, if you're, again, I think that flexibility is gonna be key, and I agree with John 100%, but I think there's so many of these things that are in there, and they're all in there for a purpose, and they should be adjuncts to each other. Your directory sign, what's allowed on the building. The post signs, where we had them up, we're saying now 8 to 10 feet, and yet all of us have said at one time or another, signs like Weir's, signs like Champions, how great they are. Well, those fall outside of that.
Way outside.
No, and yet they're wonderful. So how do you rope that in? And I think there's got to be a provision to go through a staff review or come before the board if it's outside of this to see that it does hit that character. You're saying you want to develop a character, and these are great starting points. But sometimes I just see it too stringent without a lot of choice and the ability to be creative.
Well, I'm not sure where we're being, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where we're being that restrictive.
And when you look at, where's as an example, they have 6 acres of land or something there, how many 100 feet of frontage, and in this area would be a lot more dense, and I think we have to have some different limitations.
Weirs is gonna fall into that area. I mean, when you talk about competition in the future.
Again, I wanna caution, you keep saying we wanna develop this character, we wanna develop the village character. And are you shooting yourself in the foot? Because that, first of all, something like that should be organic in my point of view. Secondly, and once you start saying it's gotta fall into a certain character, you're excluding a lot of stuff. Would anyone in their right mind say, we don't want, a bunch of high-tech businesses moving into town? Well, high-tech businesses are not necessarily gonna look like the village. May not want to look like the village. They may want to look like high-tech businesses. They may want, high-tech signs, something that looks futuristic, and all of that kind of stuff.
They're
But
gonna want
if we're
campus
gonna say
environment,
we
which
want
we
the,
get on Route 1.
old-timey village
You don't want what?
character,
Well, they're gonna want a campus environment. First of all, that group always wants a campus environment. They want lots of space. They want a nice sweeping drive that comes up to their location.
you gotta start
They're all like
somewhere.
that.
You don't necessarily get all of them at once, and you don't,
Agreed, but I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're gonna do incubator space, what we're talking, you're right, the village environment, they're not gonna go for it. But they're also gonna be set back about
Right.
300-400 feet away from the Route 1 in order to, first of all, put all their parking in, and second of all,
They'll end up in DB2.
they'll be in DB2.
Okay.
But then we go back to the original question from months ago, is that's already allowed, and are they being attracted here right now? They're not moving in as is, so what can we do to change it, to make it more attractive?
right, they're not moving in as is, but do we want to put in sort of a restrictive environment or a restrictive concept that excludes certain ones from even considering it?
But if we don't put some kind of a design standard in, then we should have no design standard at all anywhere in town. We don't care, just bring your business, all we care about is that you bring your business to town. We don't care what it looks like, we don't care what kind of a business it is, just bring it to town and we'll be happy.
Well,
And I can't live with that.
we,
As a
we do
resident, I
care
can't live with
that you follow certain environmental standards and things like that, noise pollution and all of that, but other than that, yeah, I say that should be it.
That's always been the issue. Do we settle for what we get, whoever asks us to dance, or do we
Well, I
try to,
Dying old me.
no, well, right now, we ain't exactly, we don't, our dance card ain't full right now.
Well,
That's the whole point.
And my
And we're competing against towns, I'll repeat it again, we're competing against towns that have sewer, water, gas,
Yeah.
you know, rail hubs, and have a critical mass of existing businesses. Yeah, and have a critical mass of existing businesses and
We
reputation. So we're competing against people who've already beat the snot out of us for 30, 40, 100 years.
What do we have potentially that
Exactly.
they don't?
Exactly.
No regulation.
Well, I'll tell you this, Biddeford has practically no regulation, they're a business-friendly
Don't know
town.
about that.
They're a business-friendly town, they have, Route 1 in Biddeford has practically no regulations. And that's what happens with no regulations. Look at their regulations.
But there is-
And I'm not trying to bust on Biddeford at all, certainly they've done a lot. You'll see, look at the regulations they're doing down at the Mill District, and it'll make your hair curl.
Well, we had heard a couple of times from attendees and some of the business people, open it up, like John is saying. And I think the reality is, we would dance with anybody. If they wanted to dance, we would dance. But they don't get to come to the dance because of these restrictions. They look at them, and I agree with John to that point, they don't get there. Patriot's a good example. Okay? Didn't fit in, no, but he took the right steps, and one little provision, a lot of people aren't going to do that in the ordinance. That's why I said, I think anything that, I don't mind the minimum standards, and I don't mind trying to move toward the concept. I think the intent is good for Arundel, good potential to have this character area. But if something outside of this wanted to dance, wanted to come to the dance, there needs to be a provision somewhere in that DB1 that it can be presented to the board or somewhere for consideration. You know, and not have to go through some.
Yeah, wait a minute, you guys you sunk the planned unit development or the contract zone last time I brought it up, and now it's back on the table. You're putting contract zone back on the table again, when you guys said you didn't want it. So if you
Because
want contract zone, that's a different game.
Contract zone is inherently unfair, because it says there's restrictions on everyone except those who can, go through all of the hoops that we want them to and pay us off to let them do what they want to do.
Well,
That's not
how's
right.
that any different
Yeah.
than Patriot?
Or
It isn't.
Or seasonal resorts,
It
it's the same
shouldn't have-
thing.
It shouldn't have been that hard.
What's the objective of attracting business into the community? Tax revenue. So we don't care what they do, just pay your taxes.
Well, that's where we
Well,
were coming
then
from.
we're there, then we don't need to change the ordinance.
Well, yes, we do. We need to
Why?
take
We need
some
to
of it
loosen it
out,
up.
loosen it up.
It is loose.
And that was the
Not nearly
original goal.
loose enough.
Oh, sure it is. The changes that we made in the last set go-around loosened up the entire CCS district and the CCN district considerable.
Yeah, but we're talking about signage. It didn't do a whole lot for signage.
Signage
It's
is a
some, but-
very, very, very liberal sign ordinance right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we're messing with it. And the
Well-
and the business people are pretty happy with it, except for a couple of the illumination things that are in there.
Well, the business,
And we have places in that signage, lighting thing that are omitted and you can't read it, but we're an hour into the discussion. One major point. how does the board feel about bonus sign, number one?
Don't like it.
I don't like it.
Don't like it.
Tom?
I can see the need for it, but I wouldn't push for it.
Okay. So overall, it looks like if and when, we can look at all of the things on the bonus signs and look to move them over into what we would consider standard sign in a more, if you will, loose environment, but this is the standard sign that we would like to see. The items that can't be seen, can't be predicted, or signs, I don't think that's unfair. Provisions to have them go before staff review. I mean, I'm fine with anybody looking at something and say, yeah, this would fit. And, or if you wanted it to come before the board, whatever.
I would prefer the board, because the board is gonna be looking at the plans anyway, and we usually do look at signage. And usually we look at it in terms of, does it meet the standards, but there's no reason we couldn't consider unusual signage and decide whether it's workable.
What would the standards be though? What would that criteria be of allowing?
No,
Well,
We looked at it and determined whether or not we thought it fit the character.
But
We
that's
already
after
have an
saying-
idea of what the
So
standard
you
is.
know to the first five, and then one, we decide we like the
Yeah.
colors, we like that business, and we say yes.
I mean, I agree with you, you need some standards to work with, and that's the
Otherwise,
next
it's
step.
arbitrary and capricious.
So you have to wait until, and I'll get back to Ted's comment, you have to wait until this new thing comes up.
That's right.
Okay, so we can't fix everything in the world. So let's not worry about those things that aren't here, that we don't see anywhere. Right now, there are a few. I saw the projection on YouTube, and that took $80 million and something over it, so that ain't coming.
Well, if you want to come and spend that
Right.
money and run the
No, next
wheel
year.
tax.
No, next year, so let's not kind of worry about, let's not kind of worry about those things. I think I heard concurrence with the board if we go through these things, post signs.
Well, I just had a comment on John's statement that they would be coming to the planning board anyway, and I'm not sure that's true, because right now, not every business has to come before the planning board.
Well, that's
Some of them
true,
are
yeah.
done by staff review,
All
and
of
if
them
they're,
are by staff.
if they, if they're done by,
Less than
if
you
they're
guys
done
can
by
sign.
staff, I don't have a problem if staff does the sign. If they have to come to us, then we get to look at
Because
it.
they still have the option if they go to staff review.
And
to
don't like
request
the answer.
board review, right.
Just remember, as you continually remind me, the guys who are sitting in the chairs at staff may not be the same people, will not be there in 10 years.
Yep.
So you've got to make sure that you have enough standards
Yeah.
so that number one, it isn't a capricious thing, or number two, that your minimum requirements are being made. Because understand, when things start getting busy up there, and somebody comes in with a sign, if there aren't strict standards, and you just say, well, it's up to you, yeah, you like it, yeah, it's fine with me. It's on a piece of paper, who the hell knows? You gotta have standards, they're gonna have to meet those standards, you have to have a checklist that they meet them.
I'll go back to I'll go back to the dance, and I think if we go down through this, let's get them in the door,
Okay.
okay? I mean, that's what this whole effort's about, trying to get people in the door.
Right.
That wanna come here, want to do business here, without trying to work through, well, I can get this bonus for what, and how many interpretations, and where's it gonna be reviewed? So we had 20 foot, 40 foot, which could get bonus area on for areas. Is the 40 foot,
I would
is
say,
that excessive? Or, I mean, that's less than what we have now.
yeah, put it at what we have now.
It's 50 now, right?
Right.
So I would say not,
Just
yeah,
because it's 50 now, but there's only one business on that lot with a 50-foot sign. What are we gonna do when we have 2 or 3 businesses on that lot? Because you're allowed to have businesses on the second floor, and they're not gonna be the same business. I think if we say 50 feet and you have 3 businesses, you're looking at 150 feet worth of post.
You know, 15 feet each.
No, it's 50 square feet, period.
Period,
For a
yeah.
post sign.
50 fair
Period.
square
Per
feet.
sign.
Per-
Oh,
Post
per
sign.
lot. Okay, so then it
Well, no,
becomes.
that's per post sign. The question is how many post signs you can allow on a property. That's really what it boils down to, isn't it?
Okay, so
It
then you
is,
get,
and
Per business.
Right now, it's 100. It's 100 for a property. So if you could have 100 square feet if you were on W. Cushing, or you could have 100 square feet on Weirs. Or you could have 100 square foot on a business park.
yeah, but you just brought a good point. How many post signs am I gonna be able to have?
One per business.
one per business.
No, one per property.
One per property.
Right now, it's one per property.
Right now, it's one per property.
The main wall has just a main wall.
Well, they have, yeah, they
Or
have
you might
multiples.
list the-
Yeah, they have multiples.
Yeah, they have several, of them, but it identifies the property.
Right.
And each business has their own Chili's,
On,
um,
on the building.
Longhorn, or right outside the building.
Outside?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite a bad example.
If you take Bedford Crossing, you've got all those, that main sign that's got, will have holes in
But
there,
again, that's
targets.
a directory sign. Okay? I don't see in our ordinance, if you have, that you can't have a post sign if you have a directory sign?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Not necessarily.
Well, you wanna show me how,
Post
where
sign,
it isn't?
because a post sign can be uno for one business. A directory sign is for multiple
But it's
businesses.
still a
That's
post sign.
so.
If they're on a post.
It would
it's
still
all
fit
sign.
the definition of a post sign.
They choose how to break it up.
So I could say, yeah, you can have, I can see where you say you have 100 feet, and then it's up to the landlord, you know, how you gonna break that up?
How about something, how about we say, 50 feet, 50 square feet for, no, how do I word that? I think in terms of per acreage of the lot, so if you have, a 50-acre lot, you can have a lot more than 50 feet, but
Yeah.
Should be frontage.
yeah, because you may have, let's say you have a 20-acre lot, and you've got, 20 businesses in there, why shouldn't you be able to put a bunch of signs in? But if you have a 2-acre lot, and you have 20 businesses, you don't want to put up that
Well,
many
it's, I think-
signs,
I
you
think
gotta
maybe-
you gotta limit it.
If,
Well, you're not gonna have 20 acres in the GU1 district, that's all there is to it, because nobody's got 20 acres in the GU1 district.
But that doesn't mean you can't combine lots and things.
You're not gonna get 20 acres in the GU1 district, there's no property that is 20 acres in the GU1 district.
you'd have to buy up to 20 properties.
You have to buy the entire land. I mean, it'd be stupid, if you want to keep them separate for very simple reason. You can get individual signs on them.
Well,
Okay.
why not just do like we do now and say it's 100 square feet per lot? And allow the landlord to decide if there's multiple businesses, how are you gonna break it up? If it's only one business, you have a 100 square foot post sign,
That's what I was gonna say.
Why
but
100?
Don't you want?
because that's what we have right now.
50
But it was
50.
50.
It's 50 on each side, right? Is that it?
We don't
That's a
count
good
one
question,
side.
because it
You know
says
what, I
50
think we're getting
feet.
arbitrary and capricious, you guys, we're throwing things out. You're not basing it on anything, except what we've done now. I feel like we're losing ground, we're going back to July. Because you went one direction, you said you wanted to achieve this, and now we're just saying, well, let's have what we had before, and this isn't the same thing as the kind of image you were trying to create. You decided that you wanted to create.
We're addressing the issue of what do you do with multiple businesses on a particular lot. The ordinance right now, it has one business per lot. What happens when you have multiple businesses?
Well-
Because we've now said you can have
And have
multiple
two,
businesses.
two floors and
No,
three
it's saying,
floors.
it's saying that you can have 2 post signs. The maximum number of signs, you can have post signs, you can have is 2.
What if
Or
I,
actually, no, it doesn't. It says the maximum size is 50 and the maximum aggregate number of post signs, aggregate square footage of post signs is 100. That's what it's saying.
Which is one post sign that's 50 square feet, and you're using both
Or
sides.
it's two, no.
No, you
No,
only
it's
use
not
one
on
side.
site.
It's two 50-square-foot post signs, or multiple, you know, let's say it's, let's say it's, 10-square-foot post signs. You could do that, 10-square-foot post signs.
I'd be all right with that.
You know, the objective.
It'd be too many on it. If it's a 1 acre lot, you're gonna have 10 signs on.
But for me, it goes back to
That's
that
what John was saying, it
creativity.
should be
Just
based on acreage,
allow them
not based
to,
on,
maybe with
Larger
a certain
frontage.
on frontage.
image, yeah.
I like frontage.
You wanna break it up somehow.
I kinda like the idea of just saying, here, you've got one sign, it's 50 square feet, or 30 square feet, or 180 square feet. It's one sign, that's the size it can be. And then whoever owns the building gets to determine what's gonna go on that sign. It'll end up being like the post sign I have outside my office that has 7 businesses, or I don't know how many people are in that complex anymore. But there's a list of all of the businesses if you turn in and
And the
you
more they
find
pay
out.
the landlord, the bigger their sign is going in.
The higher up it's
That's
gonna
what I
be.
said, sometimes I don't think we wanna go into that area. So the maximum into saying you can only have X, or somebody on the second floor can put a sign on the first floor, that's a landlord tenant
I agree.
kind of relationship. Can you
It's
have
also a
some-
design, it's also a design decision too. Because if you look at a building, it's got signs all over the bloody thing. I mean, that's another issue. You actually have, if you wanna see how that looks, there's a picture in your compendium here. Go to it. Of a building. It's in Wells. That's it.
No, which one are you looking for? Well, you know what? Business signs are business.
Cornices,
They think it's going to attract their customers.
Demonstrating.
Huh?
Oh, I-
No, it's in that group though.
Business decision.
It's in that group.
Business decision, that. You know, the design standard can be no more than 100 or no more than 40 feet per business on the thing, you know,
Keep it simple.
keep it simple. And guess what? If it gets a little bit crowded and it's not good for business, they're gonna be saying it. I don't remember seeing,
Yeah, the closest thing I saw was the Cannon outlet sign.
Well, that was, yeah, no.
Where next
You know what, I didn't print it out, but it's one in Wells in which they have carved wooden signs all about maybe 5 feet long and about 16 inches wide. And they're under, they go up 3 floors, because it's a walkout basement building, and the walkout basement's facing the one. And they're all under the businesses. And it's okay, it's kind of tough to read on the 3rd floor. You know, it's tough to read up there. But I mean, I don't think I
See, these
posted it
are,
out.
no, but this is just one of the ones that you have where there are signs on the building. They're quite a bit different, and they're more banner type signs, but
Yep.
obviously, they could have had bigger letters if they wanted to increase the size, you know, so,
Yep.
but
Now, if you look at that building, by the way, you know, if you look at that and you look at signable area, that Liz's art is,
Right.
I would say that's probably in the order of like 10 to 15% of the facade area, maybe 15%. That's a big sign.
of the available, we can worry
It's a
about
big sign.
it. If they wanna put them in the window, let them put them in the window.
We haven't even gotten to windows, and windows are always a big problem when it comes to supermarkets.
Yeah, so.
So you gotta be careful.
So would that be inside, as far as I'm concerned, whatever's inside the building, I think is outside of all the sign.
Not if it's meant to be seen from the outside.
Right.
Like, you know, Amados, Amados, you know, they have all those signs in the window,
Yeah.
that's signage, that's,
Wall signage, it's wall signage, that would be wall signage. But it doesn't work for supermarkets, because supermarkets, although I think supermarkets have changed. Remember how they used to have all the banners in the windows and used to cover the whole thing? They've changed, they don't do that. They just- That's a technology that just don't, because they email you now.
Your interpretation, not your interpretation, when you had put down standard size, 20 square foot, bonus signage, 40 square foot, was that to be a maximum of 40 or a maximum of 60?
Maximum of 40.
So, if I can take that a step further, then given the design appearance or character, 40 square foot of signage would have been acceptable.
Yep.
Right? Given that now we don't have single business, we have multiple business in thing, can we go to something like 30 square feet per business? I mean, not everybody's going to have 6 tenants. Some are going to have 2, some are going to have 3.
Some of them have one.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, if you've got 3 floors, how do you put all these post signs out there, individual post signs out there? Tell me how that works.
Well, I think if you have your,
These are post signs. I mean,
If you have
these are post signs.
elongated building with
That's
several storefronts,
Right,
a post sign in front of each.
each building, each store's gonna have a post
you're
sign.
using
Well,
an
yeah, but
example.
it's a long building, sort of like a strip mall kind of thing, a long building with 3 businesses in it, 3 entrances, sign.
At each end.
Yeah.
Would be, see, I see the point, see again, we're getting, the argument here is away from the directory sign to saying this is a post sign, and the example given is for the 1 unit, where we're having the conflict, all of us, is the multiple units and the multiple tenants. We're looking at examples of single businesses on a post sign, and wow, we don't want these. So for multiple, an alternative is for multiple tenants in a single building, they have to do it on a directory sign that is no greater than 100 square feet. I mean, I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
That eliminates the multiple, the argument of multiple of these things, puts it in one location. We still have, rules for intersections and that for safety where they have to be so far, where it has to be so far back.
I think I'd say if you have 3 or more businesses, you have to have a directory sign. If you only had 2 businesses, you could get away with 2 post signs.
I don't know if we really want to get into that. I'd say they're allowed, whatever, it's 50 square feet, 1 post sign.
You want to make
But
3 post
are you
signs?
talking 50 square feet per lot or per business?
Per property. And if they have 10 businesses in there, they have to figure out how to deal with that. And because what I'm afraid is if 3 or more, they get a bigger sign, they'd be crazy not to just make a teeny little unit and say, yeah, that's our 3rd one.
Well, that's what I was saying with having it 100 square feet. That's the total you can have. You and the landlord can figure it out, but that's the total you can have.
Right, but don't mandate directory sign, because then you lose the creativity aspect of
Yeah.
it.
Well, I was going with the directory sign because that's what
If
bothered
they
them.
choose to do it.
I just say,
directly.
you can only have so many square feet of post sign. You and the landlord work it out.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter how many posts.
You can have
Yeah.
X number of, no, it doesn't matter how many. If you have 10-foot signs, then you have 10 10-foot signs. But it becomes an issue between you and the landlord.
Well, see, I agree, I agree with Ted on that. If there were 10 champion signs right in the row for all one building, that would look like hell.
Yeah, it would. I can't argue that.
So
but
that doesn't go to character build, doesn't go to anything, really. And that's why this 20-foot, and even increasing it to the 40-foot, what, was that per building, Ted? You were just gonna allow 1 40-square-foot sign if they had 6 tenants?
Yep. Because you know what that boils down to? boils down to that, it turns into a project identification sign. It turns into a site sign. It would turn into like having a cube. And here's what I would do if I were, let's say, and I talked to John Hughes about this one time. You know, John, you know what you should do in your property? Hold that sign out front, that you're having so much trouble. I'd get a nice sculptural cube, just put it on one end so it's the line sitting on a point, and put on there like 193 Old Post Road, or the sawmill business park. And then, inside, you have signs in front of the buildings, you have signs attached to the buildings, and so forth. But they say, here's my address, I'm at 123 Old Post Road, or the sawmill subdivision, or the sawmill business park. That's where I am, and when you go into it, that's when you see the signs in front and so forth.
And that's how we find.
That's how it's done.
That's how, yeah.
That's how it's done. Southborough, and a famous one. Southborough, for the longest time, I'll tell you honestly, John, the Southborough entrance, everybody tried to emulate because it's so simple. And all it said on it was Southborough. 2 mounds, you know, it said Southborough. That's the address, and they have, it's a business park. Lots of buildings, lots of businesses. You go up to the building, they've got a big number on the building, and then you come up to it, and right on the wall there is a director's sign. You do that in a medical building. You go to a medical building, and you go up to the medical building. Not every doctor's got a post sign there. What he's got is he's got a directory right on the wall when you go to the main entry, or when you walk in the main entry, and it says, hey, Dr. Well, this doc's at, floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, and it has a directory sign there.
Yeah.
They don't advertise them out. You're not going to find this with offices. With professional offices or something like that, you're not going to find a lot of pressure on that unless they're in 1 or 2 businesses in a single building. If we're lucky enough to get, what do we have? We're going to like 30,000 square foot footprint, and we can get 5 floors on it, 4 floors on it. We were lucky enough to get that. No way could you sign on that. Nor would you want to, nor whoever's in there is not going to want to.
We're not gonna have the drop in retail that's gonna be on the 3rd, 4th floor anyway.
No, because whoever goes to the 3rd floor, look, realize something, you're probably not gonna get 3 floors anyways, because as soon as you go, in a public building, you're talking elevators, as soon as you get to the 2nd floor. My guess is we will not get those. We'll probably have apartments, if anything, on the 2nd floor, but if we're lucky. But we'll probably have a lot of single-story buildings, because they're all more efficient to heat anyways. So, quite frankly, directory signs, in the directory signs that list every single guy, of 20 tenants, is going to be ineffective from the road. Anybody who does that is going to find that you never, I am going to cite something, Bradley's Plaza in Old Orchard Beach, okay? I have no idea, every time I go and buy that sign, who's in that plaza except for Radley's. I have no idea, because it's got everybody on the sign, and I'm not walking, I'm driving. 40 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, I can't read all that. They all have different colors, and,
But
it's not gonna work.
that's a bad example because.
It's a good example of bad design.
It's a good example of bad design, but if you tell people where you're located in Radley's Plaza, and everybody
They
knows
know,
where it is.
they know.
That's all they need.
That's all they need.
That's all they need,
Radley's
Radley's
Plaza,
Plaza.
93 Cascade Road, That's all they need. And that's what's gonna happen with a lot of businesses.
All right. Let's get back to this, because we're talking post signs. Let's say we have a limitation of 40 square feet per lot. Does that 40 square feet preclude additional signs, like wall signs, projected signs?
No.
So those are in addition to.
Those are additions.
Right, because those are
I
based
mean,
on
we
the
do
signage area.
have limitations on, that's what makes our ordinance, our sign ordinance, not as painful as many that I've encountered. Where you get 100 square feet for your property. However you do it, that's the simple way, John. You get X number of square foot for your property, and how you do it is up to you. But don't go over it. You're gonna give me an inventory of where all your signs are, and God help you if you change it. That's the other way of doing it. You can make it linked to square footage, you can make it linked to facade. I got X facade, and I get so much signage. And how you do that is up to you.
I'm glad you didn't make your motion to adjourn at 7:30.
Yeah, no, I had said 7:15.
That's the other option.
So, would I be out of order to make a motion about this?
No, all we have to do is come to an agreement among us. We're gonna present this to the business community later. That's why I said, if we can get this into the realm of what might be acceptable, well, and I think everybody's got legitimate comments, and there's concern, and guess what? That's always gonna be here. I mean, we can keep on doing this if you guys want. I've got big ears, I can listen, okay?
This is only dealing with this area and dimensions for the sign area. So I want to make a motion that we have standard signage with a post sign at a maximum of 50 square feet. And then the other items that are under, what are listed in this chart under bonus signage, all become part of the standard signage section. These I should add about 7 points.
That was for illumination, illumination under full sign.
Exterior shielded lighting.
Yeah, why would you want to eliminate internally or externally?
No. The only thing that
Yeah.
is changing, this is gonna become 50 square feet. Everything else underneath that bonus.
Yeah, but it eliminates internally lighted, internally or externally lighted as per section 7252.
It does.
Okay.
The exterior lighting under 725.
That's what I liked about the bonus signage. It said, sure, you can have your internally lit, but if you want more signage, you gotta give us the cooler signage, what we like, what we would prefer signage. Your choice. I mean, that was all I get. It's your choice. Your business decision, not mine. Your business decision. And how you figure out those relationships and those ratios, it's up to the board. But, you know, it's a starting point.
But this is
Okay.
7252, I mean, under aluminum, internally or externally, we're in 725.
But that would not
Okay,
be,
and we don't address it unless, I'm missing something.
No, that addressed internally lit signs, and remember, this has all gotta change now that you got rid of bonus, because this was set up over standard and bonus. What you saw in item number 2 dealt with standard signage.
So am I gonna have a
But
post sign inside?
my point is 7252, we don't have a 7252.
yes, we do. That's the lighting thing, right here.
No,
And that's 7252. Internally lighted signs shall consist of light hue lettering in a dark hue background.
That's what you got right now. There's nothing different from what you got now.
that's not 7252, I'm sorry.
7252 is all purpose signs may be illuminated with one or more shielded external light fixtures, blah, 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 blah.
I think
You'd have to have a 725.1.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm confused about the way it's numbered.
Okay. These were an explanation to me under 725, under signs, okay? All of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, if you wanted to number those, 725.1, 725.2, then it makes sense that way as well, I guess, now that
Okay.
and I guess I had missed that. But the point being, this 7252, the exterior shielded lighting, okay, that we have in that you have in bonus,
Yep.
okay?
Yep. Go back.
Well, you're allowing exterior lighted, this is saying per 7252, by one or more shielded external light fixtures, so
Right.
there was no bonus.
No, in order to get
No,
no,
actually-
on lighting, there wasn't a bonus, no. You know, the bonus didn't give you,
It was actually a.
your bonus was you're gonna get more signage. You're gonna get bigger signage, here's your biggest bonus.
Bigger.
You're gonna get more signage, you're gonna get, it wasn't that you're gonna get a deal on every single thing. Oh, now I get more lighting too.
Okay, then what is the purpose of exterior shielded lighting underneath that?
To eliminate the other type of light.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have internally
Oh,
lit.
if you don't, okay,
Which I don't agree with, and that was the reason I brought it up.
okay. So, to,
So, but it's Rich's motion, so I
Now,
just
can
kind
you
of
repeat
interrupted
that,
Rich.
please?
and
I did not get your motion.
My motion was that we would adopt this 7.2.5.3 with the exception that there is no bonus signage. It's all going to be standard signage. The only change was that the maximum area of the post sign would become 50 square feet, and everything listed as bonus signage would now become standard signage. And John is correct, I had not realized that that would do away with the internally lit post sign. So, can I make a change?
Yeah, because you're.
Are you gonna have a post sign internally?
Internally lit, yes.
Oh, internally.
Internally lit.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
You're-
it hasn't been seconded, so you can make
Right.
any changes you want.
So that the bonus signage would all be standard signage. The post sign would have a maximum of 50 square feet, a maximum height of 10 feet, and it could be internally or externally lit per section 7252.
okay,
Everything else that is listed as bonus signage in this section now becomes standard.
okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes, so that means for the wall signs of the percentage of signable areas will now become standard, so,
That's correct.
okay, so I just want clarification on sign above the second story area, 15%. Would that be 50% of the entire facade
No, that's of that floor.
or just that floor?
That floor.
Okay.
We're doing it by floors because,
Okay,
quite frankly, because I don't think signs should go on the third floor anyways, and certainly don't like it on the roof. But more importantly, it's also for purposes, the purpose was also for the, the very simple fact that it's easier to do it by floor when you're dividing up signage for business space,
okay.
okay?
And further question on that is, does it include just the front side, or are we included all four sides in the calculation?
That's a good question. Usually it's the street, facing the street. It's usually facing the street. Or, but then again, what about parking?
Well, it sounds like we need to define signable area.
I think we need to define a lot more in this before this becomes final, to be honest with you, but it's Rich's motion.
That's true.
That's why I asked, there are those little details that
It's a good detail.
actually,
And
I'm not objecting
For
to.
whatever it's worth, that's for the sign area that addresses this chart, so that we have defined what we're looking at in that chart and the basis. I mean, if we want to talk about what constitutes signable area, then we can have that discussion. But this simply addresses that section of this chart.
And don't forget the second page.
Yes, it's not permitted on a roof, and the maximum area and the illumination are both related to projecting signs.
Oh, so.
At least that's, I'm assuming they are, because they fall under that area.
Are you saying that it is or isn't allowed on the roof?
It's not
The way-
allowed.
The way you said it is, it would allow 15% of.
No, no.
on-
Both roof signs not permitted above the eave of a pitched roof or above the corners of a flat.
Oh, where are you on that?
That's at the top of
Second
the
page.
second page.
The maximum area is 15%, what is that for?
That's what I'm looking at, yeah. What's that mean?
What is that related to?
Yeah.
I thought that was related to projecting signs. Now, I could be wrong.
Where it's on the roof side.
On the roof side.
The very last two items
These
there.
two items.
Yeah, they're on roof signs.
But they're not permitted.
Well, we say that's not permitted, and then you
So how
can
can
get
it have-
15%.
Wait a minute, guys, remember, when you got rid of standard sign, this chart is to compare standard sign, or the minimum signage requirement, and what you can get with bonus.
Right, but
So if you eliminate that,
we've eliminated, roof signs were not allowed under standard signage. Under bonus signage, they weren't permitted above the eave of a pitched roof.
well, that's the same as, it's saying no.
Yeah, so we're not having
So
signs.
how can you get 15% of nothing?
Well, no,
Yeah, because if we got 15% of something we can't have.
exactly, well, remember,
Exactly.
And we have
Standard.
exterior shield lighting.
the standard,
Okay,
standard,
actually,
remember, the standard was The standard sign is a lighted sign, remember, it's a lighted sign.
This is what you call complexity for the sake of amusement.
Yeah, right. So, actually, I think this maximum area and the illumination, and I know, Ted, you did that, actually did go back to projecting signs from page 1 at the bottom.
Well, that hasn't been completed yet, because you guys had, I stopped, because I went, wait a second.
Okay.
We don't have projecting signs.
So-
I don't know if I've got a mandate to do projecting signs.
Just hold on.
You won't get it from me. I think it's something where that. we
So
should- that we
in
could-
Rich's motion though, are we eliminating this maximum area and illumination under roof signs, Rich, because they're not permitted?
Yes, we would have to be.
So those two things
Scratch.
With
are
this
just
issue.
scratched out. That's part of my discussion for this. Also, in your motion, we had talked the maximum height. We said the 10 feet. Did you want to have that qualifier not to be down at 2 feet, but have that be that range of?
Well, I think we've said the maximum height is 10 feet. You can put it at 8 feet if you want.
Right.
You just can't.
Yeah,
put
but
it
you
above
could
10.
also put it at 2 feet, and we said we didn't want that.
Why?
Why?
I don't know, I thought that's what everybody said.
No,
I thought the
no,
ideal
no, I
was
don't-
8 to 10 feet.
I don't have, I don't have. a
I
problem
feel
with
six
that.
feet.
Site distance issues?
Yes.
Site distance issues dealt with elsewhere. I mean, what is,
Okay.
you know, we described how far it had to be back and so forth. It's really easy. You will not interfere with sight distance at an intersection or a driveway, period. Signs can't be placed, so they obstruct sight distance for a car that's egressing that place, period.
I need clarification on that. Does 10 feet mean the top of the sign?
Yep, absolute top of the sign. Frame of the sign.
Okay, it doesn't really say that. I don't know if it should.
Okay, and then again, for clarification on your motion, since we're moving everything over, we did say that we were going to look at projecting signs. We can, you want to include those in your motion, the sandwich board and the windows, where signage in those are allowed, and we can worry about the details later. But those were all discussions that we had as we went through.
Yeah, we need to be able to get them in there.
So we either need to have a word on this thing or not. And we, you know, gotta get us 99% of the way there. I think.
Yeah, I think we have to put it in there for the projecting signs and for the sandwich board signs, because if we don't and we adopt this the way it is, it's not gonna happen.
And the window signs, the moving signs, the
Well, we
projecting
have-
signs.
So
Sure.
you
Mr. Chairman?
allow-
I think Rich was just trying to deal with this
Yeah.
chart and not the
Right.
entire sign ordinance.
Yeah,
Which
just this
still
chart.
needs more work done on it.
I agree. And what's gonna happen from his motion is we're going to get another,
It's all gonna be reorganized.
right?
Yep.
So in the new one, if we come back with this, with that change, move over here, and those aren't addressed, if you don't remember to capture them, they're gonna be forgotten.
So I should add in that we will review projecting signs and sandwich board signs
And window signs?
and window signs at a later date.
Anybody else need any clarification?
So this is just for the
Just
post
for the stuff
signs
that's
and
right
the wall
there.
signs?
That's right.
Okay.
Post signs
And
and
the
wall
awnings.
signs and awnings.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? 4, 5, unanimous?
Yeah, I'll, with the caveat that we have to fill that chart out.
Oh, yeah.
It's gotta be reorganized.
At
Okay,
least
that's
that gets
passed.
us out of the,
Well, I want to throw a monkey wrench in this,
Uh-huh.
since you guys didn't want to do it back.
I'm gonna throw a monkey back there.
Just one question. John brought up a very good point. It's an option. I'm gonna throw it out there. Another option to all this is to say, you get X number of square footage of sign, do with it as you wish on your site. You want me to explore that? That's antithetical to what we just did here. You can still have specifications on what signs must meet in terms of minimum design standards, You say, the size of them is up to you. How you allocate the maximum amount of signage on your property is up to you. That's gonna be your nightmare. You're not gonna exceed this amount, and you're gonna have to have one hell of a great inventory force on a regular basis.
I would be opposed to that idea, because if you do that, then you're gonna base it upon the size of the lot
Or not.
that is out there, or the building that is out there. You're gonna end up with, if we base it on the size of the lot, well, you know, I've got a 6-acre lot, and I've got a 1,000 square foot building, and I'm gonna have me one honking big sign.
So basically, we just said for post signs, 50 feet is the maximum, so we
Yep.
did say that. I mean, we
No, I
did-
was just asking if
So
there
we
was
did
an
establish, so we
alternative.
did establish a high end. We also have for wall and awnings, which are dealt with, and I think you did a tremendous job with this bonus, and I think Rick gave some pretty strong comments to move everybody, I think, in that one direction. So I don't know that it's antithetical, I think it's there. I mean, if they have 50 feet, they're gonna have to deal with it, right?
Yeah, I just, I was thinking, from a
I-
building size point of view, it makes no difference, because we've addressed how much the square footage of signable area is. If we're looking at a lot, and we base signage on the lots, then we're gonna have a serious problem.
So when we go to section 4, the bonus sign design requirements, if we get out of, just take out the word bonus, signage design requirements.
And we've already
And then we
moved,
have A, B, C, and D.
right, because we've already moved E out
And
of
we
there.
move D to number 3.
Yeah, but we have to be careful because it says there qualify as bonus.
Well, yeah.
That's why I
wanted to
You're gonna remove the word bonus from everything you say.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, basically, Jim, I gotta rewrite this whole section.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, but I mean, I'm gonna have to rewrite this whole section. And it's my understanding you don't want me to explore the maximum signage and allocate it any way you want to.
Correct.
I would like to, but I think I'm outvoted.
Well, I would like
It's
that
actually
idea
easier
too.
for
I
me.
don't
It's
care
a
what you do,
nightmare
you
for
got
the
X
landlord.
number of feet, do what you want with it, but I'm not sure that would work.
Okay.
And you're saying between, in that concept, are you saying between a post sign, a directory sign, and wall signs, and window signs, and everything?
I don't have directed sign. I'm getting ready to
Well,
direct
but,
signs.
yeah, total signage is.
Project signs?
Oh, yeah,
everything?
yeah, no, it would be all signage. This is the maximum amount, it would be either the length of the square footage of the building or the lot.
Or frontage.
It could be,
Well, if I could hear a cogent argument to that, I mean, I don't think that you need a lot of work. Yeah, I mean, if there's a good, clear thing and we don't have an hour discussion, I mean, if we get into 25 minutes of throwing it back and forth again, I'd say that it was out. But I think those sort of things should never be off the table.
So does that
Sign,
mean Tad's gonna do it or not?
I don't know. I'm just.
You're the chairman.
I'm a voice of one. I had you that thought that it might not be a bad idea. Roger, Rick is totally against it, I think, but
I wouldn't say I'm totally against it.
let's hear
I
the,
just-
hear the president.
he needs something reasonable. He needs something that's logical.
Yeah, to me, the
I like
problem,
what we got.
it might be good to say you can have X number of square feet, but I don't want to see that based upon a lot size, because then it becomes ridiculous based on the lot size.
So let's, could, potentially.
Yeah.
So, but let's
Let's
see
hear
what
what
the
we got.
argument is.
So you want me to do that?
Well, you offered to do it.
didn't I? I did do that. I did. That's a
So-
self-inflicted wound.
And Rich, we could always say, you know, you can have as much as you want based upon lot size or frontage or whatever, with an absolute maximum of,
Right,
you know.
which is what you're gonna do with this too. I mean, really.
Okay, so
Well, yeah,
things
You
like,
want-
We've already done that based on the
Yes,
size.
I'm going to do that too. Whether I get it done by next Thursday is another issue.
Remind them, man.
Because I would really like to get something to you before the day of.
okay. Things like,
And I don't have, and we're off Monday.
there is a little bit, there's a little bit more than just taking out.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot more.
Product signage, I think under sign shape, that product signage, stuff signs that are, or depict the nature of a business are permissible, you know?
Or encourage, I think these are, you know, you should meet one of these, maybe, something like that. So you have these requirements, maybe,
Yeah, that-
maybe, you know, you should, any sign should meet at least one of these.
Take a look at that.
yeah.
And
I mean, so it's just more than pulling it up, 'cause some of it now doesn't
And
fit.
under lettering there, you know, when you say it should be a recognized graphic font,
Yep.
to me, why?
Why?
Yeah, why can't
Takes
it
away
be?
the spray paint.
Yeah, but what
But on the other hand,
What about this
what
example?
about creativity?
That's
right?
actually
That would
a
be-
font.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's all sorts of different kinds of font that can
Yeah.
give you crazy.
Yes, but
Just
people
spray
can invent
paint.
new ones, a good sign maker can invent something new.
There's 18 million of them out there.
Yeah, just take a look in MS
But
Word
you
at
could-
all the fonts available.
I can think of a font that is, you know, like what do you have here?
Well, should we specify?
Product signage, but the font,
Do you want to specify that we can't use,
no
spray
spray
paint?
paint.
I mean, that's what you're boiling it down to. Or actually slapdash the Jackson Pollock approach without the talent.
No, because it
Oh,
has to
man.
be a professionally painted sign, so that eliminates spray paint.
Well, some people like Marty would say, well, my friend who did that was not a professional, but it's a pretty good sign. What do you mean by professional? That's actually professional quality is what you'd say.
I mean, it's an interesting graffiti, wall graffiti, there's no one to spray can.
I had
Yeah,
read,
right.
They have some really
Yeah,
good stuff.
some
Oh, yeah.
fine stuff,
Beautiful.
some spray can.
so spray
Rails-
paint,
the
spray
rails
painting
were
is
done with
encouraged.
spray paint.
I think we need to think about that. I would also like to back up if I can, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I
Not
just
too
found,
five,
I
so
just
not
found a
five.
note, I just found a note that in that list of the sandwich, oh, never mind, it was there too. I was gonna say, okay, go ahead.
Under number 2 with the lighting, I thought we had discussed that and it ended up being amended from this, you know, light lettering on dark background and neon neon light emanating from said fixture shall be white colored aluminum, non-neon, I'm sorry. All right, but I thought we had taken care of the light U lettering on dark U background. I thought it could be the other way around as well, you know, anything that had
I know we
contrast.
discussed it, but that was not something that was decided.
Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I thought we had taken that out and then,
I think we discussed it too when we had examples that went both ways and they both
Yeah.
looked good.
and flashing, rotating, or string lighting, I don't know.
Both ways, I said, I don't mind.
So I think we need to look at that, maybe we don't want to spend the time now, but I don't think we're done with number 2 yet.
Okay,
Are we still good on the LED?
yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, where is LED anyway?
No, they didn't want LED. We
Yeah,
agreed with
it's not
We
here.
didn't want?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that in here?
I thought
No,
we
we said we
said
didn't want LED,
I thought
but it
we
doesn't
said-
specify that, you can't have it.
it was okay, provided it wasn't too bright.
Yeah, but there's no way to measure that.
Well, sure there is, and you're measuring foot candles down here, so why can't you measure it for LED?
Because I don't have the capability of doing
But you have it under awning light,
that. Right.
awning signs.
Yep. Because the light fixture tells me what my foot candle is, and LED doesn't.
Well, I don't know, or did you check on that? Because they should.
I think,
Intensity, I'm not getting good response on density, on intensity.
but if LED seems to just be moving forward so much and so many variations now, wouldn't that kind of block some future potential types of signs?
Well, we'll change when we make the technology better.
Which-
I thought we all agreed that the technology right now is not really working very well.
Hmm.
I don't remember agreeing on that, I just remember
I
agreeing
remember
that
that.
there were some that none of us liked, but.
Well, actually, I remember that we haven't found one that we did like.
Right.
It wasn't that we hadn't found anything we liked, we can't find anything we liked. We were given that assignment, you were given that homework assignment. And I know Bob tried to take photographs and it didn't work.
They don't come out.
They don't, my cell phone didn't work either.
Are you guys all comfortable with that?
Trying to get that to work.
That
Yeah, for now.
we're not allowing LEDs?
At this time.
I'm not comfortable with it.
We can come back and address it when we look at what we've done.
Well, let's see if there's any comments from business folks or.
Well, business folks will want LED lighting, because it is,
Well, it's cheap, it is cheap, it is cheaper.
it is
And-
cheap.
And it, I mean, I know we want the presentation to be right, but if they want a sign that isn't as good, then shouldn't that be their choice?
But I'm sure you can
Well-
get high-quality LED signs.
Yeah, me too. I mean, look at Times Square, that's all LED.
So we really have to look at Times Square.
That's what they are.
Well, at least we're not shooting small.
So, it's the board's wish to look into LED further
Well,
consensus?
I would say when we need to come back and look at that whole lighting paragraph and talk about LEDs at the same time.
I would remind you, it's within context. It's within context of the character you're trying, everything we're doing here this is in support of the character district you're trying to create. So think about that when you're doing this.
Okay.
Okay?
It's 9:00.
Somebody else, I will not have time this week to look into the LED issue. Does somebody want that as a homework assignment? John?
What do you want to know about LEDs? Everything?
Yeah.
Well, they measure
All
it.
right. I'll do some,
How measurable?
yeah. I'll have more data on LEDs than we ever wanted to see.
And just a brief summary for us? John, you're coming with, and a recommendation,
Bullet points.
okay? Okay, if we can, let's move on to item 2, downtown business district, discussion of proposed uses, maximum building sizes, which I thought we weren't gonna limit it, and.
Well, the last time we did talk about it was 100,000 square feet, I believe. Was it? Was it 50?
I don't know, maybe not.
So I mean, it was put down here to discuss it, I thought it was kinda, they went way up to 100,000, I think. But that was the footprint, so that could be
Section
300,000, and
7.2.
today that ain't happening.
7.3. 7.3. I think it was in the, might have been in the December 6th minutes. I don't know, December 6th was all, no, there we go.
I didn't write anything in that section, so it must be in the minutes.
One's larger retail crafts meeting men should be allowed. There also notes the need to update the version of the draft. So the maps the board can review the boundaries, which we did at the 16th, or the 17th, which was the next one. Building sizes.
We spent a great deal of time on the 13th talking about the numbers.
Yeah, we did.
That was when I was on.
Yeah. We spent almost the entire time discussing the
Actually, we
boundaries.
did spend more time on the boundaries than we spent on the land uses.
Yeah,
I don't
building size was
remember
at a previous
having covered a
meeting.
lot of
At other,
values.
at other meetings, though, there's been two basic concepts. One, DV2 is in the back, it's out of sight, with screening. Why not open it up to everything? Number 2 was there were a few kinds of businesses potentially that you wanted to exclude from the area, sex shop, whatever. Can't remember what that discussion.
You couldn't have one that big in that area anyway.
Well, yeah, see, one thing that I think is a topic that we need to discuss, because we have a property owner who who has, wants to see this done, and I've also heard from property owners who object to it. And that's the issue of campgrounds. It's a big question. We have one existing campground that wants to expand, as we all well know. I've heard from residents on Old Post Road who are very much against that. Now, agreed, it's only a couple of residents so far, and that's, but considering our audience, that's a massive amount. I'm sure, you know, when, if we were to advertise it appropriately and get the word out, we probably would get a better reflection on what the neighborhood really thinks, you know, and whether this is a minority or a majority, I don't know. But I mean, the big things, the big issues on that particular thing, that particular use were pretty much dealing with the issue of noise and probably smoke. That was the main concerns was noise and smoke.
Smoke as a campfire.
That is,
Not screening.
well, screening's always gonna be an issue.
Okay, 'cause we had
But
kind of
screening's
said-
pretty easily done within a very short area, if you're committed to doing it. The issue is, you know, the sound travels, you need like 500 feet of dense conifer vegetation in order to reduce sound by 1 dB. So it's gotta be solid material on sound. And the second thing, as I said, is smoke, and smoke is always a huge issue. These two people were talking about the concern about the smoke, especially considering they're eastward of the site. And that would mean the neighborhood on Old Post Road is all east, and the prevailing southwesterlies and westerlies will be blowing smoke that direction. That was the concern that I heard.
Does anybody know, you know, I know that the utilization, they're coming in with their RVs and stuff. How many people actually light fire?
At all. There's bonfires, they're 8-foot bonfires, like dozens of them. It's a party town back there. And that's what it's for. If I was there, I'd be sitting around with this big fire as I could, you know, just have fun.
Having had a lot of.
It's not a family campground up in the White Mountains.
Yeah, I know.
And I've had a lot of experience with campgrounds when I was just a planner in Old Orchard, and it's, you know, various campgrounds have different personalities based on the owner and based on what the clientele that they attract. But I would say pretty much regardless of excuse me, regardless of the constituency, let's say, the reason you go camping in RV or tent be able to sit there around the fire ring and have some beers or roast marshmallows or hot dogs around that fire ring. And that's why they have a huge amount of firewood at all campgrounds, and you pay for the firewood. Or if you don't, you go out in the outlying areas. I know in my neck of the woods where we have campsites, everybody in the world takes 3 pieces of wood and shrink wraps them together and puts them on the side of the road for $5. You know?
I don't know, the few that I've been to, you go in and everybody's got their gas grills and everything out on the side of their camp, their $50 million motorhome.
You've been to the high-class ones.
You say, camping, you know, I'd like to live in there. You know?
Oh, sure, but I mean, when you're camping, the whole idea of camping is to have campfire.
Used to be primitive.
Well, yeah, well, while you're watching the ball game on
Just
television.
sit around.
Well,
That's
that,
what people do.
Yeah, you sit
Yeah,
around.
do you sit around a campground with
I
people?
think that having campgrounds in the
That's what you go
DB2
for, it's fun.
is
Yeah.
counterproductive to the idea of what we want in the DB2, which is large business types. And I think having a campground in there is gonna prove to be counterproductive. We're gonna get them on one side, but the closer we get to Old Post Road, the less people are going to wanna actually have their business next to the campground. Just my opinion.
Well, I don't see it so much that as in terms of the revenue producing acreage. So it's lower revenue producing acreage.
Oh, I have a solution for that.
Yeah.
I have a solution for that. We persuade the Board of Selectmen to enact a $100 per campfire per year fee. So if you're gonna have, if you have 100 sites, then, and each one of those sites has a campfire, each one of those sites is $100. And it's a license to have a campfire. I don't think that's gonna go over very well, but
That take care of the campfire part, but.
That's
I don't think
right.
so. You know what?
But-
They make too much money on firewood. They probably sell it, they probably would. In fact, there's a firing fee. I could see them asking for a firing
They
fee.
ju-
And
they
it's
just-
only $100.
they just
and
raised
they-
the
They just
bucket
raised the
they-
fee. You know, it's just pass through.
yeah.
Well, I think the information, and Forest Service must have information, and not the noise part, but do we have ordinances that should take care of the noise?
We do.
But I'm getting off a tangent, do we want it in that business district?
Yeah, we're talking people.
I don't think that that's a
Well,
good
but-
idea.
You don't what?
Who enforces the noise stuff? The noise stuff, we don't even have a meter. You know, we don't even have a meter?
No, but but we do have a provision in our regulating that allows us to go and hire somebody, get it tested, and then if the complaint is wrong, they have to pay for it. Okay? But that aside, to exclude any kind of business, okay, I think you need that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I think you're making good points. Is it the best utilization of the land? Probably not from a town revenue thing, but again, it's potentially a business that wants to dance, okay? We have a public that has, at least to the town planner, said, hey, we're a little concerned about the smoke and the fire and that. Well, I think the Forest
That's a very
Service.
small sample, you know.
Well, that's fine,
Very
but again, that's the prelim of a thing, but the Forest Service ought to be able to provide us with, they have hundreds of camps all over the place, they must know how big a fire can be on one of those smoking, what the dissipation is over distances.
Well, if I can, we're talking about the DB district, and I think we need to, for everything else we've done, working on some type of image and some density and all that, I don't know if that's gonna fit in, regardless of what the state fire marshal says. He won't know what we're looking for here. I think, I don't see it really fitting in for a lot of reasons. We might as well have another auto dealer, because it's just a big gap in that community, village, retail thing that we're trying to get.
Well, we're trying to create a certain density
Yeah, and
there.
it's
That's
just,
kind of
a
productive.
campground, probably the biggest user outside of a golf course of just land. It just takes up a lot of space, and without, and it's one business there, without much tax base at all. So
Okay?
But they're dancing.
That's it. You know, we make arguments on each side of this thing when it seems to be convenient how we feel personally. Because I don't care one way or the other.
Oh, it's not a personal thing.
Not personal, I mean, I agree with Tom.
Campground.
I just think it has a revenue standpoint that it doesn't bring in the tax dollars that we want.
The way it does, by the way, is if you allow them to keep their RVs there over the winter, then you get the excise tax.
Yeah, how
Even
many
if
you
that,
got
I'm not
enough,
sure.
A lot of people do.
a lot of people live in Florida.
Yeah, some do, some have them in both
Those are
locations.
multiples, right?
I don't think we're dealing with a population that would have them in both locations at
We don't
that
have
particular
seasonal.
campground.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Ann.
Just that particular campground.
Oh, I
We
don't
do
know.
have some,
Oh,
maybe not that campground, but
No,
other
there's-
campgrounds, we have seasonal
Oh, yeah.
sites that we
Down
tax
at-
personal property tax.
Down at Red Apple,
Red
they have a
Apple one,
bunch.
the other one.
Yeah.
And at Hemlock, they have a
Yeah.
few. I just don't think that at that particular campground, that they would
No.
have a lot.
No, we don't have, I don't know.
So,
They're transient sites, in and out.
Yeah.
They're not-
what other uses were you concerned about?
Let's see,
Some of the other ones that you guys have talked about. I mean, you still have some questions about maximum size buildings, and you did bring that up on the 6th. Rich believes that larger retail and perhaps medium manufacturing should be allowed in the district. I think the issue is what level of manufacturing, what level of manufacturing should be allowed in there that we would normally confine to BI district, I guess is the next issue.
What do you think of for manufacturing?
I'm thinking,
Size?
I don't know, I'm thinking if a manufacturer came to town, if they wanted to get located into that section, we've already talked about having businesses up front that are selling product that they might be creating. So we may very well have, I'm gonna use,
Rental machine?
no, I'm actually gonna use, anybody here ever watch the Duck Guys on TV? They make the duck call down in Louisiana. Duck Dynasty?
Yeah.
I have a client who makes a Maine duck call. He may very well be interested in having a manufacturing facility someplace with an outlet out in front of it, so he could manufacture them out in the back and
See,
sell
that
them
would
up
go
the
good
front.
for furniture, it would go good for a whole bunch
Any
of.
number of things.
I thought we were already allowing something like that, it would be what we call a craft, type of manufacturing.
Artisan craftsmen.
Artisan craftsman.
But those would primarily end up being in the DB1 district. We'd want, furniture, we would end, you could end up with a fairly large facility in the back, making furniture that was sold up front, or any number of items, and also retail. You could have, not that I think we would, but you could end up with a Sam's Club out in the DB2 area.
Absolutely, it's retail.
It's a retail area, it would be conducive to what we were looking for. I think it would be excellent if we could get something like that. But to me, it's that kind of a thing that we're looking at.
Yes, I would think you'd wanna open it up, but I guess I was under the impression like you, Tom, that I thought the whole concept for DB1, DB2 was exactly that, get the smaller businesses friendly, walking traffic up front, be it retail, be it manufacturing, anything, and again, I guess at some point you guys said 100,000 square feet or something, Dad had said earlier, into the back. For me, who cares what size it is in the back, as long as we can control the noise, the ingress, egress, that kind of stuff. We're good. And
I think
yeah, the
other than heavy manufacturing or, quarrying, I don't see any reason to restrict anything.
Quarrying, mining, that
Yeah,
kind of
that would
stuff.
have to definitely be in a different area. You wouldn't want to have that in the DB2 district, because it would destroy DB1.
I think we'd be more likely to get manufacturing back than retail, just because of, well, we're not near an exit to the turnpike.
Not yet.
Off. So that would change everything.
It would, wouldn't it?
It would, sure, it should put one right here.
Won't be for a long time.
Have we lost it, Ted?
No, I'm sorry, I was trying to see if there was anything that popped out immediately in the smoking pack thing. And it's gonna take a lot more research than just.
No, I get, and the only reason
I'm way beyond it.
I wasn't trying to be rude, but again, we're talking the light manufacturing, excluding things like mining, quarrying, heavy noise, excessive noise, anything that's gonna detract from it, but open it up completely. I think that's,
Yeah, you could actually end up with like a lumberyard or something back there. Or.
why would that be bad?
I'm not saying it would be bad. That was an example of something that could, you could have a Deering lumber back there or something along those lines, or I'm pulling the complete brain cramp. Mark Welch's, what's his business? No, that thing that we created?
Contractor storage.
Contractor storage yard, thank you very much. We could have a good-sized contractor storage yard back there that may not fit
R.L. Brown?
in DB1.
Don't we already have a place for those things though in the B&I district?
Yeah, but there's no reason we couldn't have them in the DB2 as well. Because that's the kind of, to me, that's the kind of thing
Thinking
we'd
of the
like to see.
tax base, what tax do we get out of just a gravel pit? Not much.
Oh, no, we don't want a gravel pit, we don't want the construction,
Or
the
just
excavation.
just a storage yard with piles of lumber.
Basically open land, right?
Yeah, it's mostly open land. I'd rather have light manufacturing back there.
And we allow it in all the
Don't we
residential areas, right, contractor storage?
Well, he was talking about a larger one. Remember, we have two
Two
levels of
classifications.
contractors, two classes.
Yeah, so, but that may be good, I agree. That may
Yeah,
be good.
okay.
You know, it's an interesting issue because, well, first of all, I don't think we're gonna get you could get a Mark Walsh one, but you're right. I mean, anything, any warehousing is not gonna be the same tax revenue as you can get from any kind of other activity like manufacturing, like a running machine. First of all, you've got the business equipment. Of course, we're not gonna get that in the new budget from the governor. We don't get that revenue anymore. But, at least the building is being used for manufacturing. It has different components than warehousing, which is, there's nothing in there but a shell and inventory, and we don't tax inventory, we only ship tax personal equipment, personal property.
Well, that's the same problem we have with almost any retail business.
But what other?
Well, it depends on the fixtures. Home Depot versus Macy's make a lot more
Macy's.
huge amounts more taxes for Macy's than you do for Home Depot.
Yeah, all Home Depot has is a bunch of shelves.
Yeah, so, and those are expensive shelves, like you just said.
Yeah, but they don't
And
tax it.
no, they don't tax it. And Macy's has got all these finishings that make the building much more valuable. And then all of those fixtures they have in there are quite expensive. They really add up. They add up more than those very expensive industrial buildings.
Okay, let's try to get back to.
Yeah, let's get back. But, you know, I'm glad we did go back to the issue of taxes. Taxes is why we're doing this, is one of the major motivations we're doing. Taxes, services, and providing services for the residents, and, you know, obviously, commercial and job.
So we want revenue-rich industries.
Yeah, you have to fill it out.
Maximum building size?
I don't think we ought to put a limit on it.
You know, if it fits, we have our.
Well, that's the question. J.C. Penney wants to put in another distribution center, Amazon wants to put in a
Go for it.
wants to put in $100,000, yeah, 100,000 square foot distribution facility, Walmart.
Yeah.
Well, we can't do that.
One of those equals 500 other projects.
Actually, that's all inventory too.
No maximum?
Well, we have to meet all, any of
Yeah,
the
they-
sewer and wetland and all that, so it'd still be.
Setback and
Self-limited.
impervious area, there's a lot of other limitations.
Right, they would be restricted by that.
They're parking
Yeah,
area,
so-
impervious service, sure.
And did you guys come to conclusion on the district boundaries at your last discussion?
I thought we had.
We had, I think the only thing that we were unsure about was down on Walker's Lane.
That's right, because of the racetrack, we hadn't reached a decision on that backside.
Well, and I'm not sure we made a final decision about Arundel Playhouse area. Remember, we were thinking about including some additional lots in there.
Well,
Yeah, I thought we had.
Here's the
Did
minutes.
did
We
we
went
make
along
that-
the boundary.
Yeah, all right, here we go.
Last meeting, right.
Well, and
I know we talked about it, I don't.
And the boundary may change on this meeting that's coming up. So,
The board stated they'd like to get the impact of the residents that live in Walker's Lane. Yeah.
Okay. Did we do anything with the playhouse?
No, it didn't. And didn't take any minutes about it.
There were,
I thought we had
You can watch
had
the-
I
discussed.
know we talked
We talked about
about
it.
bringing that line down, yeah.
Just talking about it, we didn't make a decision.
Did you actually do
You
it?
all looked at the map, and you changed it on your drawing of the map,
I
Tad.
changed it on the drawing at
So
the meeting.
you'll have that.
Yeah.
I'll get that for next.
We talked
next
about
meeting.
okay, so Walker's Lane, we're gonna, what, send those?
Talk to the owners.
Yeah, just send out a little questionnaire to them, we talk to them.
Okay.
What do you wanna do, a questionnaire, or you wanna have them come in here?
I think have them come in and give us the feedback. That's better than a questionnaire, because it allows us to,
Yeah, but they may not come in and may just show up and play. Get the input if you can, and, you know, even
I would say both. I would say, talk to them and invite them to come as well.
Yeah. And then if they show up and they complain about it, hey, you showed up, so we can have the discussion.
Well, I'll start off with the property owner, who
Yes.
may or may not want to. And I understand he probably doesn't want to go that direction. And we had talked about, interestingly enough, the board discussed that if they could not secure access to that portion of land behind Walker's Lane from the residents of Walker's Lane, then there were other possible access points that did exist. And those were from Limerick Road, as you recall.
Yep, coming off, I can't think of the name of the place.
Solar
Solar.
Yeah.
Down by James Way.
James
Yeah.
Lane.
Is it Walker's Lane that they don't own? Is that the one, or was that another lane?
No, it's a private, it is actually a public, it's a public road, isn't it? They plow. Yeah, so it's a public road. It's a public road, but it terminates into a private way. And that, we were looking at the potential, first of all, there was a lot of land back there. The second thing, there's the racetrack. Now, that's owned by people who may not want to, probably do not want to do anything with it. But we wanted to explore the option. The area back there is, there are very nice homes in there, they're along the river, it's a very sensitive area. I'd be I'd be very concerned if I were a homeowner there about what we want to do, put a Walmart distribution center at the back door. So what I should do is, I'm gonna send a letter
Playhouse there.
and see if I can follow up. I need to bring in the.
So this is
the
on
drawing
map?
on that. It's on the map,
Okay.
so I'll bring the map. I was gonna do that.
Yeah, I wasn't here, so I don't.
I'm sorry. What I'll do with Walkers is I'll send a quick letter on Tuesday and ask them for their input and give me a call. And then say, we'll be discussing it Thursday, and you're invited to come and give us your feedback. If you don't want to call me or you don't have time, come to the meeting. How would that be? Because, most of the people there work, and so I'm not calling them during the day, it's not gonna do anything. So if I send them a quick note, or letter, and get it out Tuesday, and they'll get it by Wednesday, hopefully.
So you're gonna discuss it at that next night, or the following
You're
meeting?
gonna do it the next.
Yeah,
The next meeting.
In February.
Can I ask a related question with the boundaries? I missed a few meetings, I don't know if you finalized on following the property lines or just a straight line?
Both, but most of them were property lines.
Yeah,
Or
there were
both.
one or two on the Old Post that we
We went
crossed
through.
over them.
We went through the Playhouse. That was-
Well, I was thinking that it was, at first it seemed like it would make more sense, we just, to have it described, for just the back of the property lines, because it's in the tax records, but what happens if some of those property lines change? And the town have to go back and redo the boundaries each time?
Yeah, the only way that boundary lines would change that would affect that would be if they were to combine with other properties.
Or divided?
Dividing's not gonna cause as much of a problem as, and if we cite you're right, if I cite it by lot line, or by parcel, map
Yeah.
and parcel, yeah, I may have to change that. But that's also where we go now or formally, just like the surveyors do.
But yeah, I thought, right, we discussed that because historically the lot line is described at that point in time.
Right.
So you just go back to
Back
that
to that
point
lot
in
line,
time.
so it would be a now or formally.
Okay.
Which is just what the surveyor's done. When you look at all your maps, you'll see all the abutters are NF. That means now or formally. They may be the owners, they will not be the owners in some future date, but at this time, they were the owners. And it's the same thing, at this time, this was the boundary. And that's the same approach we're gonna take with this.
And the only other area is the townhouse corner that you have questions on, what the boundaries are gonna be?
Well, Townhouse Corner, we're gonna grapple with on Tuesday.
Yeah?
So, we have not really, we haven't done anything on Townhouse Corner yet.
No, I understand, but I just wanna make sure from, again, all of us have missed a couple meetings
Yeah.
here. Basically, we've got the boundaries with the exception of Walker's Lane. I guess the folks that
Yeah.
are haven't seen the Arundel Playhouse area on the map, it was agreed to. and then Townhouse Corner would be the only thing that would change.
Yeah,
So those are just 3 points of information you need to have.
yeah, at Townhouse Corner, I think we did discuss Townhouse Corner, when you weren't here, and I had brought up the issue, maybe you were here, I brought up the issue that the EDC had posed had proposed that we take it all the way up to Route 1. And I think the board was pretty adamant that if we go that far, we're really into the comp plan rewrite situation. And therefore, we would be discouraged from going that far at this point. I mean, it's something, quite frankly, Tuesday night I'm gonna bring up. I'm gonna say, you know, we may run into a buzzsaw.
Okay, okay, that's
I invited,
Need to get that now.
yeah, and I invited various people who are outside of that district who I think would either want to be included or would have something to say about it to ensure that they were invited, you know, as in anticipation of some concern.
So I just want to be good, you're clear with proposed uses,
Yeah.
okay?
I'll finish that.
Bill said we're not gonna have district boundaries, we're okay. With you guys concurrence, we'll move on to item 3. Farm retail operations, says final version, provision. John, did you get a chance, you've been the most outspoken about this, I think. How did it come out, how you had wanted? Make sense to you here?
Yeah, I didn't have any proposed changes, but I do feel we have to be careful as far as communicating that letter by email.
Yep, that's why I put it on this agenda. Appreciate your comments.
I agree, and I think almost everybody here will know, I don't respond to you.
Notice
Not
that.
not to anybody, you know, when it's got to do with the board stuff, so, yeah, that's not a way to do it. Okay, so this section look good to everybody?
Time to put the rest.
Minor, grammar edit on 3, second line, yeah, it says district shall be also contained.
Yeah, okay.
What was that?
Number 3, residency requirement
3 what?
on,
All right, here's number 3? Okay.
oh, I'm sorry, 11, 6, 10, 3.
6,
on the
10,
first
oh,
page.
on the first page.
First page, yeah. Residency requirement. District shall be also contained,
So shall also contain,
Yeah.
take out the B.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think Roger told me to do that last time, and I
Yeah.
didn't do it. Cool. Sorry.
It's okay. Was that Tom or was that Kevin this time?
You mentioned that in your email.
Oh, yeah.
Is that how you spell serves?
How you pay what?
Serves, S-E-R-V-E apostrophe?
There's no apostrophe. It serves,
And serves.
Same line.
same way. There's no apostrophe.
Even that serves, that's the part.
There's no apostrophe.
Owner.
We don't have search anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's gonna change. Give the feds some chance here.
Okay, was there any item, Ted, that you had on here that you?
No, I just wanted to know if, as you know, we went back down to giving the board a lot of discretion, which is what you wanted on buffering. So, the discretion is gonna be something we're gonna have to be very careful of, and, we have a wide range of buffering options available to us. Okay.
You guys were comfortable with that apparently? Okay. So you need a motion or anything on this, this version? I think the board's in agreement to move on. We shouldn't have this on the agenda until we start inviting the people in specifically to review this.
I have a comment on this. I enjoyed the exercise thoroughly. I thought we did a great job of communicating and going through this, but there is no way that I can support putting a retail operation in R1. I will not support this.
Richard beat me to the punch, because I don't feel that it supports the intent of the comprehensive plan. So I can't support it either, even though I went through the exercise and I wanted to make it as good as possible in case the town likes it, but I don't believe it follows the comprehensive plan.
Well, do we have to, move that this be forwarded to the selectmen? If there's some, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but if we don't have a majority of us supporting it.
I think it's a matter of interpretation, because I didn't see it that far out of the intent myself.
Well, it is how you read and interpret it, right?
So,
I think it's clear.
so don't I? So we have two, Roger, what's your take
I
on
can
it?
go either way. The fact that it's a 5 acre requirement, minimum lot size.
See, I think in all, I think the bottom line for me is this is going to the public, it's going to be voted on, so I'm comfortable that, as you said, we're going to do a nice exercise to do the best we could given the years. But I don't know about the select, I didn't know we had a process to do that sort of.
But this has to go, be, well, actually, would this be part of the whole, our whole land use ordinance
Yes.
that we're all moving forward? This isn't a separate thing on its own?
No.
Okay.
And from, my objection has nothing to do with the comprehensive plan, because the comprehensive plan can be adjusted and can be modified if we so choose. I object to putting retail of any kind in an R1 district. I don't believe it belongs there. We're gonna put R1, if somebody had the acreage, they could put a retail operation in Talbot Woods, or in, yes, it's an R1 zone, or in Clearwater Estates, or on New Road. I have a hard time with that.
Well, I brought that up and we agreed that you can only do farm retail, not a retail.
Okay, farm retail, it's retail. I don't
No,
care
it's
how
a
you,
specific farm retail.
it's retail, and that to me is the issue. It is retail in an R1 zone, doesn't belong there. Nothing but residences should be there. And that's the objection I have to this ordinance.
But I feel the same way you do. I asked if we had a tractor operation that sold tractor parts. And I was told that that wouldn't apply because it's
It,
not
right,
farm retail.
it would not, because it's not farm retail. But retail is retail. Whether we're calling it farm retail and we're allowing retail sales. If it's product that's manufactured on the site, if it's corn that you grow in your own farm and sell it in a retail operation, I don't believe it belongs in the R1 district. That's the problem I have with it. I don't have a problem putting it in the R2, the R3, the R4. It does not belong in R1. That's the entire objection I have to it.
Is it because of lot size?
No,
I mean, you're
it's-
talking
it's-
residential, I'm just asking a question.
Yep, no,
I mean,
it's
I'm not-
it's strictly, I believe that R1 is a residential zone, and that's all that should be there.
But R2 is a residential zone.
I know it, and I lost the fight on R2 in the middle of the discussion when we had it. I started off thinking it did not belong in R1 or R2. And I'm willing to cede the R2.
And taking not the other side, but another facet of Richard's argument, as I look at it, my objection is also that it is retail in the R1 zone, and that is specifically, in my interpretation, not permitted in the comprehensive plan. Because it only permits home business, which to me does not interpret into retail. It interprets into home occupation, which is allowed there as well. So that, you know, that's my reason. And then the other part of it, the second side of that reason is, as I've pointed out a number of times, I feel there are too many potential loopholes here where you're not necessarily going to get the retail that you're thinking is farm retail. By our definitions, it could be something very different. And we brought up a number of wacky examples, but nevertheless, the possibility exists.
I would like to just remind the board that it's really not that black and white when it comes to retail in the R1. Because a home occupation does involve the sale of products. They can be limited to those that are grown, raised, crafted, assembled, repaired, or substantially altered on the premises. Incidental sales of items which are accessory and incidental to the service which is provided on the premises may be permitted, such as hair products from a beauty salon. Yep. There's that. Also, farm stands are retail, and those are permitted.
And those are permitted. And my interpretation went to the comp plan, all through the comp plan. In the introduction, it says that we want to support and maintain agriculture and the thing. So that is there so much to me. That was the overriding. But again, I'm one person.
And I agree with you, Bob, and I don't want you to think, and I don't want anyone to think that I am against farm retail. I think it's a great idea, and I think it should be encouraged, and I'd like to see it, from my point of view, I'd like to see it everywhere. But I don't think this is the right way to do it.
What is the right way to do it?
Change the comprehensive plan first to allow for this kind of use, and then tighten it up a bit to make sure we get that kind of use.
Have we formed that committee yet? Got them back together?
Nope.
This is January.
Yep.
Huh?
So,
It's not enough time. And I'm limited to how much time I can spend.
Oh, sorry?
And I'm limited to how many hours I can spend in meetings.
Yeah, no,
So we did away with content.
no, but, I mean, the point of that, and again, in interpretation, now we kind of made motions through here, I guess for me, as the chair, when we said we don't support it, but we voted in a majority vote on this thing. What does that mean?
well, to me, it means you don't support it, but on the chance, actually the good chance that it passes, you want to work to make it as good as possible.
I engaged in the exercise because I thought the exercise was useful. I thought it was a very good process, and and like John, I wanted to make sure that if this does go through, that it's a good ordinance. I just can't support the R1.
Well,
Would you recommend that we get rid of the, I mean, seriously, I'm not joking, do you recommend that we also limit the other uses that we currently allow?
Yes,
Retail
I would.
uses That we should
I would.
eliminate those from the R1?
I don't believe retail should be involved in the R1 of any kind. You know, if you want to sell Amway out of your house and go visit your neighbors, that's a little bit different, but
No,
other than that, no.
no, we have retail. We have a retail component in our home occupations ordinance right now. Many don't, many make it service-based, well, wholesale, and they take it to they deliver, as you said, like Amway, distribution.
I lived in a town that restricted the service. You could not have an accounting firm in your home. You could be a dentist and a daycare, and that was it.
She was written by dentists.
Must have been. Must have been, because you couldn't be a doctor and have one there.
His wife did the daycare.
For what it's worth, my take is that it's just taking the home occupation just one step further. I was actually questioning, well, isn't it already kind of allowed anyways? Because this is really has to be done on site, and I don't know how many large properties we have that's gonna be growing, that have cornfields in
But
that one.
the difference between this and a home occupation is that you have a separate standalone building that now qualifies as retail.
It's permanent.
And it doesn't require, have the same restrictions on employees, and it has more square footage, potential square footage anyway.
Hmm.
So it's larger overall.
It's larger only to the point that they're actually producing these products on site. And they're not allowed to have a factory to make too much of it, whether it's wreaths or mustard or whatever it is. So that how many employees would any of these be having? And I don't see that happening. I see it as giving someone who is growing blueberries to sell blueberries out front, and we have that already.
Yeah, but that's a farm stand, that's okay.
But they have a separate, they can have a separate
But
building.
it's temporary.
It's temporary, but it's kind of there all year, so it might take the sun down.
That would address the need to change the comprehensive plan and get that area out of an R1 and into an R2. To me, that would be a more appropriate venue to go instead of doing this.
Well, the comp plan doesn't change zones.
Who changes the zone?
I mean, we write the rules for the zone, you try to follow the guidance.
Then we should look at changing that zone. Instead of doing this, we should look at saying that that's going to become an R2 zone and do this along with it and eliminate it from an R1.
What if someone has a smaller property, maybe they sell honey or something, beehives, or whatever it is, and maybe it's closer to Route 1. How would you fit that into R2 or R3? Maybe.
Well, if it's closer to R1, they're going to be in the DB1 zone, so they're going to end up able to do it anyway.
Well, my understanding is, the majority of the board has said this is fine, move it forward, let the townspeople vote on it. I do think I don't know if you're developing a list, or if the comprehensive planning committee starts up, or is called, but that's an item that really does need to be addressed.
Talk to two members, former members of the selectmen.
Isn't it for Todd to reconvene?
Yes, and I've already told him about it.
You live in
Yeah,
Area.
okay.
I'll do that.
Okay, go
That's a good
ahead.
idea.
Keep
Why don't I
it to us.
call him and jam him up against the wall too?
the, he's smaller than you are.
Yeah, but he does something that, he's got the power of the pen.
All right, he signs the paycheck.
He signs the paychecks. So,
Planners report?
Yes, okay, planners report. See, what do we have? I think I told you about we have a private way which is going in and off of Old Post Road. I don't know if I reported that at the last meeting. All right, yeah, it's what boils down to the 2 outside.
Oh, that's right.
Let's see, events since that time. I want to thank the board members who came to support the code enforcement officer and the planner at the ZBA meeting last Thursday. Those of you who don't know, the code enforcement officer had issued a notice of violation on Du Bois Livestock Inc. for failing to report and denying access for the annual inspection required by this board in last February 2011's approval for the compost facility. And code enforcement officer, when he was denied access and didn't receive the reports, filed the NOV. The applicant, the Du Bois appealed to the ZBA. The hearing was held last Thursday, and the ZBA upheld the decision of the code enforcement officer. So we have a standing NOV right now, and I've asked the attorney what's now, where we proceed now. Code enforcement officer has asked the attorney, let's go. I think we were well represented by Bill Dale, who I think did a good job.
The only thing is you put it back in,
Yeah, you noticed that too.
Well,
And that's where
but
it's-
their lap isn't their issue, see, they know that we would address and consider all of that kind of stuff, that's not what they want.
I know, but
But that's all right, then if it comes back to the board, that's no problem.
We'll deal with that when it occurs, exactly. But the fact
So
is,
we
we have a
really-
violation right now. That notice of violation has been upheld, and therefore the violation should proceed.
And we don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I'm not sure I'll be on the camera anyways, because I mean, that is, it's a legal matter, I'm not sure we'll discuss it. You know, in public, and I'm not required to discuss it publicly. So I will keep the board informed as things occur though. Second thing, in case none of you don't get the journal, the Board of Selectmen on Monday night took the recommendation of the EDC and authorized a $25,000 contract with the Chesapeake Group of Baltimore, Maryland, to serve as the consultant for the marketing and branding study. We're gonna have fun. The gentleman Howard Koch, who is going to be our principal, he's the principal, he's also the project manager on the job, will be coming up to see us. And I think you want to come and participate in this, because it's going to be very interesting. He's going to be looking at he's going to be looking at SWOT. He's going to do a SWOT analysis, which basically looks at spending habits and market-driven habits in Arundel and in the environs. He's going to be doing a number of market analysis. He has on his team specialists that he pulled in who works especially on the eastern shore of Maryland, but a lot of other places, on agricultural issues, and especially agricultural marketing and product development issues. So she's going to be, I don't know what role she's going to be having, because that's only a small component of what we're talking about. But the big thing is that he'll be doing the marketing studies and let us know exactly what kind of position we're in and what kind of businesses we should be focused on trying to attract, which is exactly why we hired this. He's also going to be coming up with a brand. He'll be up here quite a few times because he actually doesn't have a place here, but stays up here quite often with friends, and sees it as a great opportunity to come to Maine and light it off. So we'll be exploiting that. But you'll find Howard to be very animated, very creative. Chesapeake Group has done quite a few of these jobs. I did the restaurant's background checks. In fact, I talked to Nashville and I talked to Mackinac. Mackinac is the closest community to us, Mackinac, Michigan, and there's actually only 1,000 people there.
Yeah, small.
It's a very small thing, but he did a real soup to nuts job in helping them remarket and rebrand themselves. And
It's a high destination.
it is. And he was part of that work.
When I was in the military.
Yeah, well, they keep reinventing themselves and deal with the changing market. And they have just, Sheboygan County there is having just wonderful. They've got very good reviews. I've talked to Nashville, I've talked to Maryland, I've talked to Baltimore. And so they will be working the timeline. I haven't finished going through Howard's proposed contract, but the timeline is it will be done in 5 months. So it will not be completed prior to town meeting. However, a lot of the marketing stuff will be done prior to town meeting. So we might be able to our intent was always to get that kind of information and see if we're on the right track or if we're barking up the wrong tree. And Howard will be very blunt with us and very, very good. So I'm looking forward to when he has the meetings, I'm sure the board will, I will keep the board informed and they will obviously participate. So that's two. I think that's pretty much it. That's all I really got to mention. Oh, we do have, don't forget on the 22nd, next Tuesday, we gave you all one of these. We're gonna be having the Townhouse Corner Neighborhood Workshop in this room, 6 o'clock. We're gonna try to get some food here, because that's where you get people to come. Jen Burrows has been talking this up from Winks, and she has been in contact with property owners up and down. I was just talking to Tom Sinclair today, who wants to come. I've invited also Larry Mead and Jillian, who's the town planner, and Kennebunkport to attend as well. Since their town's right across the street, they might be interested in what we have planned or what we're thinking of doing. And the way we're gonna be doing this is we're gonna be setting up tables and have people sitting at tables and try to create an atmosphere in which I'll be doing kind of like a chalk talk thing like we did with business people. I have a list of questions, and I'll have the maps basically produced, and we will try to get people to talk about what they want to see in the neighborhood, and what's acceptable, what isn't, and where they see it going, and what the needs are, and give us an idea. And as we go along, we'll ease into the idea of what, this is what we're thinking about, creating a mixed-use district, and how you react to that. The board, the EDC will be there, and they've already have some very strong design standards. They're real tough on their design standards that they want to see. But we're going to listen to the neighborhood, find out what they're going to say. So that'll be at 6 o'clock, and I'll see if I can get Jen to get some food here. And if she does, that'll be a draw right there. Also, in case you didn't know, and this is actually not really board related, but Lisa Vargas, who has been our treasurer forever, it seems, she resigned. She's now she was our deputy treasurer. She's the head treasurer over in Lyman, and she's left it for about a week now, right?
No, she left at the end of December.
Was it Venus?
December 27th.
Well, I don't know what
2 weeks. You've been sick.
I've been sick, I guess. The whole month's gone by. So Lisa's gone, and they're, I believe the interviews have been completed, and Tom will be making a selection on who to appoint. Other than that, those are the only things I have to report.
Bylaws or something?
No. No, these are maps in the wrong ones, not the ones you want.
Props.
The props, yeah, players gotta have.
Makes them
those.
look good, right?
No, I do have Mylars, which I do need you to sign, but tonight I just didn't bring them along. It's not that, it's actually county connection. You know, they never revised it, and we never signed it, so I got Paul to get me the Mylars, and we'll do it next week.
As they did it, we were all.
Yes, as they did it, yeah.
That was my comment on our visit, that after they were done.
Okay.
Sounds great.
So,
There not being any public, we're gonna skip forward, but Ann, was there anything? Okay.
I'll email out the last 7 minutes along with this. To everyone.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn. I'll second that.
Have a motion to adjourn, a second, I'm sure there won't be all.
I object.
I'm sure there won't be any.
I want to stay longer.
Who was the second, Roger?
Yes.